For the Army team, well, they celebrated yesterday as Tony Schumacher hoisted his 6th gold championship trophy, celebrating a Top Fuel #1. For most, winning an NHRA title is a once-in-a-lifetime accomplishment, and Tony Schumacher has done it 6 times. Schumacher and his team have captured that 6th title through total domination. The team has seemed unbeatable. A record 14 race wins this season. And the Sergeant's 55 career victories have put him alone at the top of the list as the winningest Top Fuel driver of all time. Schumacher is not only becoming the 2008 NHRA Top Fuel champion, he has made history. How do you beat him? How do you beat Tony Schumacher? More on Schumacher. Here's Gary Gerald.
And Paul, for Tony Schumacher and the U.S. Army team, there's a newfound sense of freedom today as they bask in the glow of an unprecedented 5th consecutive Top Fuel championship. It's just been an amazing season of domination, unlike any we've seen in recent years in NHRA history. But lest you think, because the pressure's off, that the performance may fall off, let me assure you, this team that is qualified #1 this weekend says they want to run the table. They want to ensure the fact that there'll be still more single-season records set. And considering what they've done already, how can you doubt them?
And Gary, thinking about things to come in the pits, Jack Beckman, he's 2nd in funny car points. Cruz Pedregon is 3rd in the points, and they will face one another in first round of eliminations. Just 16 points separating them, 8th time that they've matched up this year. We're ready to light the engines. And we'll start the day with Brandon Bernstein and Clay Millican. The crowd loving every moment as we start. The nitro fumes begin to drift across the grandstands on a gorgeous day, though a fairly windy day. The crowd loving that. So as we begin in Top Fuel, we'll take a look at the Lucas Oil ladder for you. And in the ladder, well, Tony Schumacher, he's 39-1 in the 1,000-foot era, and he has more yet to prove.
Well, so basically everybody's racing for 2nd place, and on the other side of the ladder, the person in 2nd place is Hillary Will. She will be going up against her teammate, Doug Collada.
And we'll be focusing on that battle for 2nd place. And here is Brandon and Clay Millican and Tim Richards, who is announced along with Tim a retirement at the end of the year.
Yeah, Tim Richards has been a great one. The elite crew chief, so I'll tell you what, you got to give Tim Richards a lot of credit, too. She's been tremendous as far as managing the clutch. I would put her up against anybody as far as the unit and the clutch management itself. That is a tremendous team.
Brandon 6th in the point, 72 points out of 2nd.
This is a great matchup. Both these cars ran very well in qualifying, very consistently close to each other. So its lane choice has gone to Brandon Bernstein by a couple thousandths of a second in qualifying. Track conditions have been good all weekend, but it's the first pair out. Always a little bit nervous.
And how about it for Clay Millican? They've done some work on that car, got some help from Alan Johnson, and Millican added the whole shot, and he takes down Brandon Bernstein.
Wow. I tell you, Tim Richards and Kenny Bernstein were disappointed probably because of the whole shot lost. But I give credit. I mean, Brandon Bernstein had a good reaction time. 0.63, I put that up against anybody. He did his job. Just Clay Millican, 0.35. Where did that come from? Either he was just amped up, very good. I don't think he was stage deep. They both had about the same 60-foot time, which indicates how close they are when they stage that thing. Just Clay Millican just had a tremendous light, and as a result, as you take a look at our Motel 6, who got the light, it goes to Clay Millican. When you add the reaction time to elapsed time, lower number's always going to win, and that went to Clay Millican.
And more on our championship stories. We start with Dave Reed.
With a 3-round lead and only 8 rounds of racing left, everybody is in love with this David versus Goliath story in Funny Car. David, of course, being played by Tim Wilkerson, the independent taking on the Goliath, the multi-car teams. And everybody says this is now Tim's championship to lose. Couple that with the fact that one of the 2 competitors chasing him in the points, Jack Beckman and Cruz Pedregon, one of them's going down in round number 1. That's because they race each other. Bottom line, this is a team that knows that every round they win increases their odds that David, Tim Wilkerson, can be the first independent funny car champion since John Force in 1995. With another great story going on in Pro Stock Motorcycles, here's John Kernan.
Well, David involves the points leader, Matt Smith, and you can't blame him if he's just a little bit nervous heading into his first-round matchup against Matt Guidera. Yesterday in qualifying, they experienced electrical problems. Last night, they stayed here until 11:30, taking everything off their spare bike and putting it on Matt's bike. All the electronic components have been changed, and for good measure, they also put in a new engine. Unfortunately, they won't know if it's fixed until he launches. So there's a lot of anxiety here in the defending Powerade Champions pit.
And our second pair, there's J.R. Todd. He'll face Dave Grubnick. The weather could figure into the day, Mike.
Yes, it can, as it always does. But we're up here a little bit of altitude in Las Vegas, but the temperature 77 degrees, track temperature 99. Very dry air. When you correct it altitude, we're almost 4,000 feet above sea level, and it is windy. South wind going right down track at 28 miles per hour, gusting to 36 miles per hour.
Well, Mike, a lot of the crew chiefs were hoping for some better air today after a front went through, but it hasn't developed that way. In fact, it's a little bit worse. So a lot of the crew chiefs are making the adjustments for tune-ups based on the thickness of their head gasket. Just 3/1000ths of an inch, though. Just shows you how fickle these top fuel and funny cars can be when it comes to nitromethane.
We're out for Grubby.
But he drives through with it. Dave Grubnick takes the win, 397, 297 miles an hour. He's had 14 first-round losses this season, so he's got that one off his back.
This is a little bit of a surprise based on qualifying. JR definitely had the better car. You saw a cylinder out. You take a look at that from on the left side of David Grubnick's car. It relit the cylinder, but what happened to J.R. Todd, if we can take a look at it, he launches off of the starting line, and it looks like it's probably going to go into some tire shake right there, and then he gets out of the throttle, gets back on it, and that's what cost him the race at that point. Even with the cylinder out from Grubby, he was still had enough to get the win.
And you see the side starting to pull on J.R. Todd's car as well there. Grubnick takes that win. Only 2 races left to go to determine all of the champions in the NHRA Powerade Series. Left to go in the NHRA Powerade drag racing season. We're in Las Vegas, and here they love speed. Some of the strike fighters coming out of Nellis Air Force Base right across the street. The fans here have already seen one champion crowned, and they're looking ahead to the possibility of another today, and of course some great fights in the championships. This was yesterday, the Gold Wally to the Army team and Tony Schumacher. But now that he has that in hand, the question is, what's going to happen? He has said, I'm going to run all the numbers. I'm going to put my history out of sight. But when you think about it, Alan Johnson is leaving the team. He's going to form his own team next year. And when you get to this point where you've got the championship, do you really have the gusto to keep going?
Well, that depends, and I'll give you a perfect example. Back in 1988, Kenny Bernstein won the championship with 2 races to go. He sewed it up in the second round at Phoenix. I raced him in the semifinals, was able to beat him on a hole shot. I firmly believe if he hadn't sewn up the championship the previous round, I never would have been able to beat Kenny Bernstein on a hole shot because he was just that good. Now, for Tony Schumacher, it's different. He's having that career year. Like you said, Alan Johnson is leaving, so he wants to run the tables, and because of that, I believe that Army team is just going to keep marching on.
And our next pair, Hillary Will and Doug Coletta. Will second in the points. That battle for second. 29 points ahead of Antron Brown, who sits third right now. She will be racing Doug Coletta and racing their teammate Coletta. She's beat him for the first time ever in round 1 at Dallas. She was 0-7 coming into that round against Doug.
Hillary was telling us this weekend that when she got to Vegas, one of the first things she did was participate in a martial arts kickboxing class. She says, it helps me get mentally sharp. I want to kick some butt.
Oh, look at Hillary. She does it again. She really has to perform to move around in the championship and hang on to that second, and that run will help her. And look at the reaction time.
0:28. Wow, where did that come from? I'll tell you, did a great job. She knows her teammate Doug Collette is one of the best in the business, and she had to be on her game. Might have been a little bit anxious, but take a look at Doug Collette as he leaves. You see the engine RPM right there. That's at 2,500 time as he gets ready to launch. Shortly after he hits the throttle, that engine goes probably up about 81, 8,200 RPM, but it wasn't enough. Hillary Will made a very nice pass to get her into the next round.
And so we have Top Fuel underway, first round of eliminations. We'll be talking with all of the contenders, including Cruz Pendergon, just trying to cool it out in Vegas as he faces some pretty major competition. And Tony Schumacher, well, he's got the championship, but he says he's going to roll on and run those numbers. Stay with us. Back at the Strip in Las Vegas, everybody had a great time with costumes for the Halloween weekend. Big, little, a lot of good stuff on the starting line as well. How about Gary Selsey's boys going as the Nerds? Oh, what a good time this weekend. What a great event with just 2 to go. Championships on the line, 1 already decided, but 3 yet to be determined. And Hot Rod Fuller comes up against Tim Wojcik. Hot Rod Fuller, this is his first time, think about this, first time with lane choice since they raced at Maple Grove back, that's Reading, in August.
Yeah, that's before the countdown. They've really struggled, and I'll tell you, the car really looked good this weekend, getting that number 3 qualifying position. Did it in the last session. Crew Chief Rob Flynn will be leaving at the end of the season, moving over to Kenny Bernstein's team, so obviously him and Hot Rod would like to be able to go out on a high note.
Well, that one looked easy for Hot
Nice
Rod. Rod Fuller at 382, 317 miles an hour. Very nice. Quickest run of the round.
I'll say, I mean, that was a nice run, like you said. It looks like they're starting to get this. This looks like the old cat car of earlier this year when they were running very well. Like we said, they've been struggling, but the last 2 runs that car's gone down the racetrack have ran some very nice numbers.
And you saw that speed, 317, one of the fastest. Let's go to John Kernan.
Back with Cruz Pendergon, part of the monster matchup with Jack Beckman, 2nd and 3rd in the points. You beat Jack last time out at Richmond. Do you have the car to have a repeat performance and continue your championship hopes?
Yeah, we do. We have a car. It's gonna be tough. Jack and that Valvoline car, they've been good. They've been good the last half of the year. Maybe as good as any car out here, but we have a good car. Our Toyota is going to be, maybe it's going to be close. I mean, it's definitely would like to see him later in the rounds, but, the good news is it's going to be good for one of us, not so good for the other. So we'll go up there and see if we can get him out of there.
Best of luck to you.
And here's your new champion, Tony Schumacher, who's not lost in first round this season. He faces Joe Hartley, only his 3rd race of the year.
Take a look at the all-time championships. John Force, the leader in the clubhouse. Got 14 of those, but Tony Schumacher, 6, including 5 straight. That is a pretty amazing feat, the fact that they won 5 straight, too.
And there is obviously the kind of focus that he has looking ahead to maybe passing up John Force.
And you see Tony Schumacher chasing history, holds the top fuel record. Greg Anderson holds the single season record. If Schu can win 6 rounds, he would get that. He's also got to win out to get the race wins in a season.
And how powerful have they been? He has won 9 of the 10 1,000-foot races. Schumacher and Hartley. Don't count Hartley out. Well, Hartley's in trouble. This goes to Schumacher. 382, 316 miles an hour for the new champion. Quickest run of the session. So now Tony Schumacher is set to face Clay Millican. when they go to the second round.
Just like they've been doing all year. Don't make any mistakes. Joe Hartley had 200ths of a second advantage off the starting line, but Schumacher knew just go out there and get a good light. It doesn't have to be great, and let the car do the rest, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, now Dave Reef is looking ahead to funny car. He has Jack Beckman.
Anxiously awaiting funny car eliminations round number 1. First pair, it's Jack Beckman, Cruz Pedregon. We all know what's at stake. We know you do as well. What's going through your mind right now?
You know, it's the second to last race of the year. We're in contention for the championship. My paychecks keep cashing. Life's great. I want to do my best for the Valvoline MTS crew. We got to win this race. We got to get to the final here to have a shot at winning the championship at Pomona. But it's got to be business as usual. Burnout to turnout. You got no friends. You go up there and you do your job.
Remember, this team's going to be a little more aggressive, too.
Well, you saw Troy Buff. He will race Antron Brown. Troy last race at Charlotte and lost in first round to Antron. But Antron, we're talking all about points right now in that battle for second. You see Antron third in the points, 29 out of second. Second in the points, remember, is worth $100,000. Third, $50,000.
That's a big pay difference. And right now, Antron Brown, they're your number 2 qualifier, but on 2 runs, they had big-time oil downs. You don't normally see that out of a Lee Beer tuned car. So obviously, they had some mechanical problems, but each time, the other 2 runs, when it went to the finish line, that car ran very well.
And least we forget, Corey Mack is just 8 points behind Antron. Troy Buff, his debut season for Bill Miller.
Red light for Buff.
So that's Antron Brown on the red light, a 384, 315 for Antron. You saw Bill Miller kind of frustrated as he looked down the street. You know Troy's going to be frustrated with himself as well.
Yeah, that's just a situation. I mean, Bill's going to be upset. Wasn't going to make any difference because obviously Antron made a nicer run, but still, as a driver, you don't want to give it away with the red light.
Well, our next pair coming up in Top Fuel as we work our way through this first round of eliminations. We'll have Corey McLenathan going against Morgan Lucas. We'll also have an opportunity to talk with a man who has won an unprecedented 5 straight Top Fuel championships, Tony Schumacher, in a moment. Rod Fuller, who put down a very strong first lap in the first round of eliminations, headed back to be serviced for round number 2 as we await now McLenathan and Lucas. And here at the top end with Tony Schumacher, we talk about winning the championships. We've talked about all the amazing records you've already set. So what now is the motivation that the pressure's off?
I think that's why we won the championship the way we did this year. It's not the motivation. We're motivated every run, every round. We want to go the quickest of each time. And for the U.S. Army, just an outstanding season. Want to enjoy it. The last 2 races with this crew, the crew chief all assembled together, and we're just enjoying ourselves. We'd like to be the winningest team ever in a season, but, you know, really the focus is on winning this race right now.
Very special times for this man and his team.
Well, there's Corey McLenathan. He's in the game in that points fight as well. His 100th race as a pro. They were looking for a second at that belt, but everything looks good there. And Mike Green, crew chief there, you kind of wonder where he ends up next year. A lot of rumors about what's going to happen with him.
Rumors are that he may move over to that Army team for next season.
Morgan Lucas alongside Lucas and Corey Mack. Dodge over at the end for McLenathan, but he runs a 385 to a losing 396 for Morgan Lucas, and Corey Mack moves into the second round. We'll find out in a few moments who he will face. It could possibly be Larry Dixon, who is right behind Corey Mack in the points.
This was a good run by Corey. You saw Morgan gets the advantage by a little over 500ths of a second. Wasn't able to run the number. Looked like he had a cylinder out. But if you go on board with Corey, you're going to see Morgan get the jump right there. And then the cylinder goes out. Corey's able to drive around. This was a nice pass because Corey smoked the tires on both qualifying runs yesterday. But he was confident they had that thing turned around. It looks like he was right.
And so we continue Top Fuel, the first round of elimination, and go back to the line. Larry Dixon and Terry McMillan For McMillan, his third ever NHRA race, but for Larry Dixon, fifth in the points, 61 points behind second place Hillary Will.
Take a look at Terry McMillan there. Crew chief Doug Cooks also helped Doug Foley. Knows how to run these cars. He only comes out on a part-time basis, but normally when he does, the car runs well. But he has Larry Dixon in the other lane. Larry has been very, very good and consistent in qualifying, but we've seen that this year. He can run well in qualifying, and then they usually stumble on race day. They've been working on fixing that. Crew chief Donnie Benders, I think, is doing a better job. They've been getting him more in that direction. But, if you want to win on Sunday, they just need to run like they do in qualifying. I think they'd be fine.
And still a lot of rumors surrounding Dixon and where he will be next year. Will he be driving for the Snake, or maybe he will be the top fuel driver in Alan Johnson's team? We'll find out after the season here. Whoa, big bang there. And Dixon, a 384, 313. And so Larry Dixon, fifth in the points, will face Corey McLenithan, fourth in the points.
Another look at Terry McMillan. Looked like he put a cylinder out, really mixed him up bad, and then backfired the supercharger big time on that thing. Lost the belt. Larry Dixon makes another nice run to get him into the second round. Take another look at it. He's almost 280 miles per hour at the 8th, all the way with candles lit all the way to the finish line. That's what you want to do on Sunday.
And so we'll show you the top fuel Lucas Oil ladder now. And look at that. Larry Dixon, Corey McLenithan, fourth and fifth in the points. They will face one another. And all of the contenders in that battle for second have advanced.
And a bunch of them on the other side, including Antron Brown going up against David Grebnick. And then Hot Rod Fuller and Hillary Will. That's going to be a great matchup.
And so round one of Top Fuel is complete. When we come back with Funny Car, this could be a season ender for one of these two guys. Will it be Jack Beckman or Cruz Pedregon? They're both very much in the fight. But since they face one another, somebody is about to get hurt in the championship. A night view of the Strip in Las Vegas. Beautiful, all the power, all the lights, and we're at the ACDelco Las Vegas Nationals. I'm Paul Page, Mike Dunn, Gary Gerald, Dave Reese, John Kernan. They're all covering everything here with just 2 races to go in the season. The ACDelco Las Vegas Nationals. And this is what we've been waiting for. This could be the end of the championship for somebody, most likely the end of the championship for either Jack Beckman or Cruz Pedregon. They are second and third in the points. Jack is second, 52 points, or 3 rounds behind Tim Wilkerson, the points leader. And Cruz 68 points out at first. So both within striking distance, but here they have to face one another in first round. That great side by side. Here's the Lucas Oil ladder. As we look at it, Tim Wilkerson, 5-0 this season, racing Mike Neff. He'll come up against him shortly.
We look at the other side of the ladder, the matchups there. Obviously the big one, Cruz Pedregon and Jack Beckman, with Cruz having lane choice.
Mike just talked with Ron Tobler, Cruz Pedregon's crew chief. Very pleased with the car, says it's been very consistent. They've got a tune-up in it to run an 07 or an 08, but he says both cars are capable of running that, so it's probably going to come down to the driver. And Ron Tobler says he has all the confidence in the world in Cruz Pedregon.
Remember, Jack Beckman's team is going to get more aggressive, and how they're going to do that, there is a tuning term called rack factor. It speaks to the height of the piston for a particular run. Well, when they went up in the 4th qualifying session and qualified with their 409, they made a mistake. They had the wrong rack factor in there. But based on the fact that the car still went 409, if they get the correct rack factor in, which they do have today, they say they can go even quicker. That's how they're going to get more aggressive in this run.
Well, and that rack factor refers to the compression height. So obviously if they had the wrong rack factor, that means it was probably too low. That's why I ran the 409, so they probably got it up just a little bit more. As Dave alluded to earlier, 3/1000 of it on the compression makes a big difference on these cars. Both of these cars were very consistent in qualifying. They both went down the racetrack on all 4 of their runs. Cruz was running slightly better, though. So I agree with John. It could be definitely get down to reaction time.
Tim Wilkerson looks on. 8th matchup this season.
Oh, red light for Fast Jack.
You cannot make a mistake. They all said that, and there it is for Jack. He teaches drag racing. He's on his way to a championship, and he red lights. John Kernan, you saw him pull over Ron Tobler.
And Ron, you told me before that it may come down to the driver. Prophetic words. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you know, I think we got a little lucky there. Something the car didn't perform up to its standard, but you'll take these things any way you can get them. I think it's about time that we had a little luck go our way for a change.
Sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's being good, and right now it was a case of luck for Cruz Pedregon.
Well, yeah, and the luck factor, though, always goes back to you make your own luck. And obviously the situation with all the pressure created the luck for Cruz Pedregon. You saw Jack Beckman, I mean, just pulled the trigger too early, didn't have the target in focus before he squeezed it, and as a result, he got the red light. Good news for that man right there, because obviously he did not make the run that they really wanted to, his worst run of the weekend, but he still gets into the next round.
You know, I was talking with Jack Beckman yesterday. That's his 2nd foul of the year, and he did say to me, he said, you know, you got to really get up for this, but you can't get too up because you can't make a mistake. And there it is. So Jack Beckman goes out in first round. Cruz Pedregon moves ahead. That'll certainly embellish his championship hopes. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Jack Beckman comes over, had words with a couple of the crew members. And Jack, is there any more deeper disappointment in drag racing than to experience what you've just experienced?
Well, what hurts is letting the crew down. It was simply a driver's mistake. We've got no fog coatings on our visor. They last for 6 or 8 runs. I didn't change visors here. It started fogging up in there, and I just made a mistake. I left before the tree came on. And to let the crew members in Valvoline and Mopar and MTS down, that's a bitter disappointment. It's over. They're not going to let us rerun it. We're going to have to pick up the pieces and go to Pomona and do our best to win that race, and the chips are going to fall where they may. But I'm very sorry to the guys that are busting their butts to work on this car, because that's not what you get paid to do as a driver.
Thank you, Jack.
Just some tiny thing makes all the difference in the world. Well, there's Tony Pedregon. He's 90 points out of first. And Tim Wilkerson. He will face Bob Tasca, who this weekend's announcing an alliance with Tim Wilkerson for next season.
Well, and Tony Pedregon's got to be happy that, you know, his brother got by Jack Beckman's into the next round. But Tony, Dickie Venables, they're just focused on, they struggled until that last run last evening. And we've seen it before. Once he gets a handle on it, usually he's tough. Ooh, lit her up a little.
Pedregon, 413, 295. You see the reaction from Wilkerson.
Yeah, Tim knew. It's like, oh, man, we could have had it. Because I guarantee you, if you watch the left side of your screen, Tim Wilkerson probably saw the flash, probably pushed a head gasket out of Tony Pedregon's car. He thought that might have been enough for Bob Tasca to drive around. But the problem was Tony Pedregon was really marching early in the run. He was running, you know, almost 265 miles per hour, 232. And remember, when you push the head gasket out, it will slow down a little bit. Tony, look at him. I mean, that thing's letting up. He says, I ain't lifting. I'm going to the other end because it's still running. Sometimes you push the head gasket out the backside, the car will lose a little bit of power, but it won't lose a lot of power.
And Dave Reef's been watching Tim Wilkerson.
And you got a little help there from your friend Cruz taking out number 2 in points. Your teammate next year could have helped there, but I know your focus right now is on Mike Neff. What do you have for that team, and what kind of a race car do you have heading into race day today?
Well, I hope I have a good race car. There's no doubt about it. If Cruz would have run a 19, I'd never dreamed that have won the round. So, hey, I tell you what, we're just going to go out there and race our own race, and whatever happens, happens. And hopefully we can get by Neff. He's one down, and every round at one at a time for Levi Ranchow.
Keep in mind, if you're a betting man, and you can do that here in Las Vegas, Tim Wilkerson 5-0 against Mike Neff this year.
And the next pair, well, it's going to be for fun. Doesn't really fit into the championship battle, but it can be for a win. Ren and Force. Back at the Strip in Las Vegas. Next stop for the NHRA Powerade Series, the Automobile Club of Southern California Nationals in Pomona. Qualifying comes up on the 15th of November. That's Saturday, 11 o'clock. And then NHRA Race Day presented by Lucas Oil. Usual slot at 11. Final 7 p.m. That's the finals of the season. All champions determined at the end of that one. John Force, he missed this race last year. He was still recovering from his accident in Dallas. Last time he only won one race in a single season was '89. That's all he's got so far. Jeff Arendt in the other lane. Well, John Force, and look at that leave, a 0.29 for John Force. Runs a 4:17, 295 miles an hour. The Force is with us.
How about that John Force now? He'll talk about he rolls a little bit deep on race day, and what that means is you have about a foot that you can play with and before you're actually at that starting line. So you move a little bit closer to the starting line. It allows that reaction time to be a little bit quicker, but still did a very nice job to get in the next round.
Well, here comes Robert Hight, your #1 qualifier on a day that he says he can't make any mistakes. And Tony Bartone. We send you to John Kernan.
Down in Cruz Pedregon's pit, and the reason they didn't run that 07 or 08 like Ron Tobler planned is they blew out a spark plug early in the round. In fact, the half-track speed was down about 10 miles an hour. And Cruz, sometimes you're good, sometimes you're lucky, and as Ron said, you guys haven't had many lucky breaks, but that was a lucky break, wasn't it?
Well, it was, and we've been so good for so long that we knew at some point we were going to have to put some in the bank there, but that was a tough round. I really want to race him, to be honest with you, but because that's a good car, and Jack's been on the game on driving, but you know, I knew we had to be sharp on the light, and Beckman probably did too, but you know, in nitro racing, it's hard to have 8,000 horsepower go great every single lap. So for Ron Tobler, the team, this is for them. That's a huge round, biggest round of my career by far as an owner. And I just think of the Larry Miners and the Joe Gibbs that gave me an opportunity to do this, because we're doing it and it feels so good. I can't describe the feeling right now, but we still have a race to win.
And we'll see you in the next round.
Thanks, guys.
Tony Bartone, 90th race day in his career. Hight, 3rd to 5th in the points. And Hight goes on to take the win. That'll help his point situation. We got his radio on, but I got to tell you, with the Air Force Base right next to us, you know, the military tends to take over frequencies. And you know what? They can.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, you would know.
Yep.
I'll tell you, this was an impressive run, though. Robert Hight, Jimmy Prock seemed to really start to be getting a handle on this race car. 4:08, they run over 265 miles per hour at the 8th mile. Thing was nice and clean and dry at the other end. That's what Jimmy Prock likes to see. Not a whole lot of damage to that engine.
And a reminder that on election evening, 2 of the NFL's elite battle in the nation's capital. Big Ben and the Steelers take on Clinton Portis and the Redskins. Plus, at halftime, Chris Berman will speak with both John McCain and Barack Obama in their last national interviews.
Am I good or not?
And look at that. Sarah's here. Nah, that's just part of the costume. No, it's not.
Oh.
That's Jackie Price, George Price's wife. They put that whole Pro Stock motorcycle team together. Well, here comes Jerry Tolliver and that man, Gary Densham. We go to Gary Gerald.
Well, Robert Hight, you have been the #1 qualifier, I believe, 3 times for the fall race here, but you'd never, until right now, won a round of eliminations. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, and you don't have to remind me of that stat. You know, we've come here and been in contention for this championship the last 2 years and blew it. Had a malfunction, and then we just messed up last year. So, you know what? Every round is critical for this Ford Mustang right now, and we can't slip up. Second round isn't going to do us any good to lose then either. We got to be perfect, and we got to win this race today.
All right, thanks a lot.
Again, this pair doesn't figure into the championship, but Jerry Tolliver, he hasn't won a round of racing at any Vegas race, and Everybody's wondering where he will end up next season. Tommy Johnson Jr. also looking for a ride for next season. Gary Dencham, he's in the points, but he's 10th, so if he moves forward, he can only be a spoiler.
Tale of two different cars. Gary Dencham qualified on the first qualifying run here this weekend. Jerry Tolliver did not make it into the final run, but made a nice run to get him in that number 3 spot.
Jerry Tolliver goes away. Put this one down for Gary Dencham. A 426, 280 miles an hour. So now Gary will face Cruz Pedregon when they go to second round.
A little bit of a surprise with Jerry Tolliver. I know he didn't have a consistent race car this weekend, but the track conditions look pretty good out there. But you're going to see right out here, he's going to probably go up into some tire shake, gets into tire smoke, and gets that thing sideways right there. He's out of the throttle, and then he's going to get back on that thing. Well, actually, he didn't. He never did get back on it because that thing got pretty sideways, and he knew that Gary Dencham was just pulling away.
Well, over in the Wilkerson pits, it's Dave Reef.
Now back in the staging lanes, watching what I wouldn't describe as a nervous Tim Wilkerson. Instead, maybe a tense Tim Wilkerson, who now knows he has a 4-round lead over the guy who's second in points. That, of course, being Cruz Pedregon. 3 pair of cars. He's still not in the race car. Still working on the electronic tuning, but he is about ready to pick his tune up and get strapped into this race car for a big round 1.
He looks pretty relaxed. Ashley Force, 6th in the points, dropped 1 place after Richmond. She is over 6 rounds out of first. There are 8 rounds of racing to go in the season. Ron Capps, well, right now he is 7th in the points. He has 12 first-round losses this season.
Well, you know, all year long, Dean Antonelli and Ron Douglas have given Ashley a very consistent race car, but they're up against this man right here, whose crew chief, Ed the Ace McCullough, is the master of giving a driver a consistent race car, especially over the last couple of years. And this race has been no different. Both of these cars in qualifying were very, very consistent. The difference is, though, Ashley has outperformed Ron by about 300 to 400 consistently on each run. Now, Ron Capps, one of the better drivers on the starting line. Ashley's been a little bit suspect on that this year, so we're going to have to watch and see what who gets the advantage right here. Dead even. Oh.
Yeah, but Ron Capps runs into trouble. Ashley Force takes her on through a 420, 293 miles an hour to a losing with a problem 465 for Ron Capps.
I'll tell you, the Ace is going to be upset because they had this race in the bag. Pretty much identical reaction times off of the starting line, but then Ashley had a cylinder out early, and Ron Capps was pulling away before he started spinning the tires and backfired the supercharger, and at that point all he could do was watch Ashley Force pull away on her worst run of the week in a 420, but still good enough to get her into the second round.
Well, the stat guy's been working away, celebrating his first anniversary on the air. And what do you got for us, buddy?
Well, we love to crunch those drag racing numbers. Ashley Force gives John Force Racing as a team the 1,700th round win. Of course, John Force has won over 1,000, and that is for 8 drivers. Of course, they started the 2-car team, I believe, back in 1996, right, Mike Dunn?
That's right.
Well, let's think a bit about what we've seen. We saw a red light by Jack Beckman, and that was an enormous help to Cruz Pedregon, and Tim Wilkerson was watching it. Now, what will he do when he comes up against John Force Racing's Mike Neff?
I love racing. I don't want to give it up, and I won't give it up.
Top 10, the winner, John Force, gets round win number 1,000.
All the drama, excitement, heartbreak, and intrigue of the 2008 NHRA Powerade drag racing season can be experienced again with the 2008 NHRA Countdown to the Championship Year in Review. Order now for only $19.99 plus shipping and handling at NHRADVD.com. Reserve yours now.
The NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series, the Nellis Air Force Base, home of the Thunderbirds demonstration team just across the street. And the jets come over the top of this track all the time, almost sometimes drowning out the sounds of nitro. And speaking of that, Melanie Troxel and Gary Scelzi come up now. Melanie has had the top speed 6 races this season and the last 3 in a row. So that car can run.
Yeah, Brian Cry's been doing a good job making good horsepower. This car is getting more consistent. That has been the problem here in qualifying. They went down track pretty well, 3 out of 4 runs. A little bit better than Gary Selby, but both these teams have struggled on and off this year, and that's why they're not in the countdown.
Wow, Troxel on the hole shot, but it was close. A 4.13 with a 4. Gary Selby a 4.12 with a 3. You do the math on the hole shot. Melanie Troxel takes the win.
Just a good old drag race here. You're going to see the advantage by Melanie by 0.02 of a second over Gary Selby off the start. Gary runs a little bit quicker at the finish line, but because of that starting line advantage by Melanie, you take a look at our Lucas Oil photo finish cam. By 0.09 of a second, Melanie gets the nod.
Back at the starting line, Tim Wilkerson and Mike Neff. Wilkerson needs to go rounds. All right, let's take a look at the funny car points as they are right now. They are current with Tim Wilkerson, #1, followed by Cruz. Jack Beckman, he's dropped down a position. He'll drop further through the day. This is a chance and an opportunity for Robert Hight and Tony Pedregon. Let's go to Dave Reed.
Back in the pits of Cruz Pedregon where the work continues, but let me tell you, there are lots of interested spectators in what's going on the racetrack right now, and where they normally get their information off the public address system. Well, we've got some new technology here too at ESPN, portable cameras, and that's where Cruz Pedregon is going to watch this run with Tim Wilkerson. And you think Jack Beckman's got one of those in his pit too? You betcha. There's a portable monitor over in Jack Beckman's pit too. This is a big run in the Funny Car Championship this year.
Well, I tell you, this is huge, you know, and so far it's played out the way Tim Wilkerson would have wanted. Obviously, Cruz Pedregon getting the win because he was one more round farther behind than Jack Beckman. That helps him out, but he also knows that's not enough. He has to get this round win. A first round loss pretty much, I mean, it kills you at this stage of the game.
Final work on Mike Neff's car, 9th in the points. He has 6 first-round losses to start this season, and that really set him back in the points. John Force watches his driver, Neff. Wilkerson, this is huge. Oh, Neff has not beat Wilkerson at all to this point, but he does it at the worst possible time for Tim Wilkerson, and that'll bring a smile to both Pedregon and to Jack Beckman. Dave Reed.
Well, Cruz, you saw it. You now know what's at stake. What's going through your mind right now?
Well, that's good. You know, we need to focus on our race. I know I'm not going to sound very exciting, but you know, we've got to do it ourselves and try to win rounds today, and I'm just so focused on that I can't really get excited. But you know, Tim looks like he went to the well once too many there and running them as good as he's run, but it looks like part of the downside of going for it and being aggressive is spinning the tires. That'll straighten you out right away, but you know, it's good. So far, so good.
You look in his eye, though, there is a sparkle. John?
With Jack Beckman and Jack, you could hear your guys cheering when they saw that when Tim smoked the tires. They're still alive in the championship. What are you thinking right now?
Well, we're not rooting against him, and I think the most important thing is I messed up. I did everything wrong. Our car wouldn't have smoked the tires. Some people say, well, it would have smoked. But anyway, I double-stepped the throttle. I screwed the tune-up up. I made it smoke the tires. I came back to the pits, and every one of these guys gave me a pat on the back, and they had every right to be upset with me. For the Valvoline MTS guys, I mean, this is what teamwork's all about. Wilkie's been the man all year. I told you it was going to come down to Pomona. It's going to be interesting. It's nice to know we still have a shot at the championship, but it's a big uphill battle for us right now.
And we can't wait. Thank you, Jack.
Well, and if you do the math on it, if Cruz Pedregon can win this event, he'll take over the points lead.
I tell you, this was a big surprise, though. Tim Wilkerson spun the tires relatively early. We know the track conditions are good. We've seen some very good runs here at the strip, but early in the run, that thing goes up into tire shake and then drives right up into the tire smoke. Looks to me like it was just a little too aggressive for the conditions out there, and that is a surprise because Tim Wilkerson's been very consistent all year long.
So the Lucas Oil Funny Car ladder, and here are the matchups when we go to second round. Robert Hyde gets a break. He has to face his teammate, though they say they race the cars individually. We'll find out.
Well, and on the other side of the ladder, you know, we got John Force going up against Melanie, but that big matchup for Cruz, he's going to have to take out Gary Dincham to keep his hopes alive.
It has been a long time since we've seen Tim Wilkerson in the Levi Ray and Shop car out of shape on the racetrack. It's a costly, devastating blow to his championship hopes. Here's the reaction, meanwhile, from Jack Beckman. His hopes have taken a huge boost. We'll get a chance to talk to Tim in just a few moments.
Back at the Strip in Las Vegas as Pro Stock comes to the line. We welcome you to the ACDelco Las Vegas Nationals. Paul Page, Mike Dunn alongside, Gary Gerald, Dave Reed, John Kernan. They're all over the place. And as we get ready to go with Pro Stock, we want to give you a shot at what the ladders look like. First up will be Warren Johnson and Dave Connolly. And there are the ladders for you. Jeg Coughlin takes on the rookie Ricky Jones. Jeg could race his teammate in round 2 if things go badly. He's won 75% of the runs.
On the other side of the ladder, second in the points, Kurt Johnson up against Richie Stevens. Would love nothing better to win this race for his sponsor and for that shot at the championship.
So here's Warren Johnson. He has the top speed 14 times this year up against contender Dave Connolly.
It's always entertaining when these two come to the starting line because you never know. A lot of times we have those staging duels. Other times they'll just roll right in. So it's always fun to watch how it plays out. And look at that. Dave right in. Good lights for both.
Well, they both came to play. And there's the numbers, and there's the win for Dave Connolly. Victor Cagnazzi, the car owner, looks at the 671, 205, and knows that Dave Connolly's still in that fight for the championship. He sits third right now.
How about Warren Johnson? Great reaction time, but didn't have the setup. As you take a look at our Lucas Oil photo finish cam, by about half a car length, Dave Connolly gets the win.
Gary Gerald with Tim Wilkerson at the top end.
When he climbed out of the car, simply one word from Tim Wilkerson: bummer. How big of a bummer?
Well, obviously that's a devastating blow. We putting ourselves in a good position there with Jack going out, and now we just got to hope Cruz goes out, right? So now we're playing defense. Now I'm not a defensive player. You could see that by the way the car smoked the tires off there. We're on offense, and it wasn't supposed to do that. Just a devastating blow. But you know what? Hey, we're just going to keep the drama going. It's going to be good going to Pomona now. There's going to be 3 or 4 of us. They're going to be real close. So, hey, whatever happens, happens. We've had a great year so far, but we haven't given up, believe me.
Any chance you would join Paul and Mike in the booth for the second round?
Oh, sure. I'll go up there. That way we can put some jinxes on some of them guys.
Oh, that'll make it fun. Give us some insight. Pro Stock, second pair, first round. B. Gaines and Ron Krischer. Not in the points fight, but an interesting battle of great veterans nonetheless.
B. Gaines with lane choice, taking that left-hand lane. Everybody in all the categories have taken the left-hand lane, the pad lane choice. Big advantage for Krischer.
And it's enough. Ron Krischer on the hole shot. 676, 204 miles an hour. Really left on V and takes the win.
Yeah, 0.03 of a second advantage was what Ron Krischer had over V. Gaines. That left-hand lane, I know it's a lane of choice, but so far both Warren and V spun pretty hard when they let the clutch out in that left-hand lane. Take a look at our Lucas Oil photo finish cam. Ron Krischer by just a nose over V. Gaines.
And so that brings us to the line again with Mike Edwards and Jim Yates. Edwards dropped 1 place in the points from 5th to 6th after the race at Richmond. Yates, he can only be a spoiler in the countdown this year. The 2-time Pro Stop champion out of 96 and 97. Won 25 races. His son Jamie and daughter Cynthia, their first child this past week, Ryan James, the first grandson for Jim and Tony. And Tom Martino's filling in for son Jamie on that car this weekend because of that. Well, Well, Mike Edwards just came roaring off the line. Look at that reaction time. Jim Yates wasn't even in the game. It's a 672, 204 miles an hour to take the win. And now, what's going on with Eddie Krawiec as we come up in Pro Stock Motorcycle? He's number 2 in the points, and John Kernan has the information.
By out-qualifying Matt Smith, Eddie Krawiec actually picked up a round in the championship countdown. He now trails the points leader by just 2 rounds, but Eddie hasn't won a race this year. However, that doesn't really matter to him. He says he'd love to be the first rider to win the title without winning a race. Eddie faces Sean Gann in the first round.
Well, here comes Kurt Johnson and Richie Stevens, that man right there. And so that's a good time to show you where the Pro Stock points sit right now, because Kurt Johnson has dropped down to 3rd in the points. He's 78 points back. Jeg is the leader. Dave Conley in 2nd. Jeg has a remote possibility of wrapping a championship right here.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt Johnson just needs to focus on doing his job, because, you know, if he can win the race, championship will go to Pomona no matter what happens. So, obviously, you know, any driver, that's what you focus on. Just don't worry about the points. Go out there and worry about getting round wins.
Against Richie Stevens, Kurt Johnson is 15-6 career. Well, Kenny Koretsky's sporting that Phillies hat, huh? Wondered who he was betting on. Not that he would bet. No.
Not Kenny.
No,
come on.
Not the cap. Their time. Here we go. Well, Kurt Johnson, he comes off the line hot, runs a 673, 204 miles an hour. And Dave Reef, Jeggy, was watching on one of our monitors when that run came down.
Yes, he was. 78 points is the lead for Jeg Coughlin, a 3-time Pro Stock world champion already. Also has a Super Gas 1. Can't believe that he might actually get a butterfly or two. But, Jeg, what are you feeling this morning?
Man, I'm feeling outstanding, Dave, to be honest with you. You know, we've seen some great runs ahead of us, and, you know, we expect to see Conley turn the win night on there, and Kurt did a great job as well. So, you know, this countdown to 1 is doing just what it is. And, you know, we enjoy that for the fans and the media. But, you know, butterflies, you know, we try and wash those out about the time we fire up this hot rod and get out there and do what we do, and that's go down this quarter mile.
Also some confidence in that voice, and keep in mind, if he wins, he will race his teammate Dave Conley in round 2.
Well, and as we've mentioned for Jeggy, he wins first round. This is career-wise. His whole career, he wins first round 75% of the time. Jason Line. Well, he dropped 2 points in the points after Richmond, went from 3rd to 5th. He will face Greg Stanfield, who has 1 win this year, and that was Dallas over Jeg.
That was a good win for Greg Stanfield. Long time coming, a great racer. And right now, he's up another great racer, former Powerade champion Jason Line in the other lane. Jason, interesting. He has lane choice. He's the first driver to take that right-hand lane with the choice.
You were wondering, could he run him down? But no, he couldn't. Jason Line gives way to Greg Stanfield on the hole shot. It's a winning 673 to a losing 672.
Good old drag race, but Greg Stanfield did the job. He was 2.5 hundredths of a second better off of the starting line. That is what he needed, because Jason Line, as you said, was chasing him down, but just didn't have enough real estate.
Well, in Pro Stock Motorcycle, they'll be coming up shortly, and the battle at the top is very tight. Eddie Krawiec sits in 2nd place. Matt Smith, he's the number 1, and we'll see how that comes out when round 1 of Pro Stock Motorcycle comes up.
This extremely breezy day in Las Vegas, we await Alan Johnson and Billy DeSegley, the next pair of pro stockers coming down the track. Meanwhile, at the top end, Kurt Johnson, 78 points behind Jeg Coughlin, and time is running out. How much of a long shot do you consider yourself?
It's a long shot, but you never know what's going to happen in this Pro Stock game. It's so competitive out there. And, you know, ACDelco Cobalt's been running great lately, and if I can get my foot off the clutch and hopefully put some round wins together, win this race, you know, I don't wish bad luck on anybody, but we need to make, you know, a couple rounds here and a couple rounds in Pomona. We got a little bit of time left.
He gets Stanfield the next round, and Kurt gets lane choice by 1,000th of a second.
In 2 weeks, we're off to Southern California for the Automobile Club of Southern California Nationals. That's Pomona. It's the finals. Alan Johnson, 672, 204 miles an hour to a 677 for Vinny.
Hey, that was a pretty good run by Alan Johnson. That 672 wasn't too bad. Vinny Sigli was just dead late trying to get his first round win. Just wasn't able to do it against Alan.
So Alan Johnson, who still searches for some success this season, and it takes us back to the starting line and brings up that man, Greg Anderson and Justin Humphries. Now, when you think about Anderson in the points fight, holds the national record ET for Pro Stock car with a 653. He's not been to a final round, though, since Denver. That's the beginning of July.
That's a big surprise, and interesting here, too, like his teammate, Jason Line, Greg has chosen the right-hand lane. Obviously, that Summit team sees something they like in that lane, and I can't say where I see a big difference. I mean, you base it mainly on 60 foots, how well the cars launch, and the 60-foot times have been comparable in both lanes.
Greg Anderson, fourth in the points. Ken Black, the car owner, lives right here in Vegas. There's Humphries. He won at Charlotte over a broken Kurt Johnson. Couldn't get the car started.
You see those 13 round one losses and some DNQs, but I'll tell you what, he basically had 3 teams this year. It's amazing that he was able to get the win. He's got Warren Johnson horsepower under the hood right now. Hopefully going to be going with them all year next year. So no shortage of horsepower for Justin Humphries. We know Greg Anderson always has the horsepower. Just usually it's a matter of getting the setup right.
Red light again. Wow, this time for Justin Humphries. That's his 6th of the year, and it gives it to Anderson, a 672, 205 miles an hour. We're going to take a look back in the pit area right now because Cruz Pedregon, they continue to work on that car as they get ready. When they come back, Cruz Pedregon will have to face Gary Dencham, but Cruz needs to move forward. He's already taken out Jack Beckman, so got to be feeling good about everything thus far. And with Tim Wilkerson struggling, that's going to make for an interesting end of the day in funny car.
Well, Paul, and the crew know, though, that they dodged a bullet on that one. We heard they lost a spark plug early into the run, so they're going to probably, you know, check and double check, which I'm sure they did before that run because it was a big race, but sometimes you just can't check everything. But obviously, they don't want any problems like they had in the first round.
So here is Jed Coughlin. He will face Ricky Jones. Jeg, the #1 qualifier. He increased his points lead from 32 to 74 after Richmond, and after qualifying extends it to 78 points.
Well, right now, Jed Coughlin has a big horsepower, you know, performance advantage over Ricky Jones in qualifying, almost 0.05 of a second. So when you get down to a situation like this, Ricky Jones running for, you know, that Rookie of the Year honors has done a good job. But Jed Coughlin, I mean, he is just, as Tony Schumacher would say, a machine. He goes out there and normally doesn't make any mistakes. It's almost like they would have to miss the setup totally in order for Ricky Jones to have a shot at, because I don't see Jed Coughlin having a late light. I mean, he might get left on by a little bit, but usually not that much because he's just such a solid driver. Identical reaction time.
Off the line, dead even. And Ricky gives him a good run, but it's Jeg, a 671, 204 miles an hour to set him up to face his teammate, Dave Conley, when they come back to round 2.
Tell you, it wasn't a bad race. Ricky Jones, give him credit. He made his best run of the weekend, picked up about 1/100th of a second from his best qualifying run. Jeg was about 1/100th of a second slower, but because they left dead even off the starting line, Jeg Coughlin was able to get the win, although it was probably a little bit closer than what we might have thought.
Here is the Lucas Oil Ladder for Pro Stock with first round complete in Pro Stock car, and Jeg Coughlin will face Dave Conley, but look at that, highlighted in white. Dave Conley will have the lane choice.
And that's because of speed. They ran identical elapsed times. On the other side of the ladder, some big matchups, including Kurt Johnson, going to have a tough one trying to get around Greg Stanfield to keep his championship hopes alive.
So now with round one in Pro Stock complete, we think a little bit ahead to later in the day. There's some new life breathed into this team for Tony Pedregon with Tim Wilkerson going out. We'll see what they can do with that. And then there's also the consideration of what's going to happen Pro Stock motorcycle. Thus far, it's been kind of an interesting weekend for Matt Smith. Can he stay number one? As if riding Pro Stock motorcycle isn't dangerous enough, Matt Gadera, oh, nice work. No equipment, nothing. Yeah, that's what you get. Nice work, Matt Gadera. Hey, let's take a look at the points in Pro Stock motorcycle because they are coming up when they arrived here. Matt Smith, number one, 39 points back was Eddie Krawick, but Matt Smith had 2 runs go away in qualifying with electrical problems. Let's send you to Dave Reed.
Long day, short night, but Matt Smith, you think you got the problems well ironed out. I guess we actually won't know until you pull the clutch. What does that do for your confidence?
You know, we just got to go up there and do our job, race our lane. And, you know, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Everything will go good. I mean, if it's not, we'll go to Pomona and try again. But, you know, my confidence is good. I know I got a good bike. If the electrical problem's gone, we should be fine.
And with that, let's get you set up with the Pro Stock motorcycle highlights from round one.
First up, 3-time champion Andrew Hines up against Craig Treble. This was all Andrew Hines as he had the advantage off the starting line and never looked back. 7:08 gets him into the second round.
And that brought up Mike Berry and Karen Stouffer. It was all over right away as Karen Stouffer, her 7th red light of the year, and that gave the win to Berry.
Next up, we see a big explosion here from Mike Berry. A little bit of a fire there and an oil down that kept us down for a little bit. Next up, we got Chris Rivas and Michael Phillips. Michael Phillips with a perfect reaction time, but Chris Rivas was able to drive around with a 7:04 elapsed time at 187 miles per hour.
And Angel Sampey went number one qualifier, and that put her ahead, finally, of Matt Hines in career number ones. Angel came up to the line alongside of Junior Pippin. And Angel takes that all the way as she runs a 6:98 at 188 miles an hour.
Pretty much a perfect run for Angel. She ran that 6:99 for the number one spot and then just lowers that track record to a 6:98 to advance into that second round.
And a little stare down for Steve Johnson as he faced Hector Arana.
Say, hey, how you doing, Hector? Come on,
hey,
we gonna race any time today? Yeah. I think he's playing a little gamesmanship here. Let's see how this plays out. And look what happened. Hector Arana goes red, handing the win to Steve Johnson. Only runs a 7:11, but good enough for the win.
Shook him up a little bit. Chip Ellis and Angie McBride, and again a red light this time for Angie McBride. Ellis runs a 7:03 at 189 miles an hour, and he takes the win. Well, there's Matt Smith. He leads Eddie Krawick in the points, coming here by 39 points, but he's had some interesting problems on that bike. He will be alongside of Matt Gadera, and he's 4-1 racing Gadera in his career.
Boy, this got to be nervous time for Matt Smith. I'll tell you, he's, you know, like we said, he can't test it. You got to put it under load. He's changed everything to make sure that he's gotten the problem off of that motorcycle, but you're not going to know till he goes out there and lets that clutch out, and that thing's at full throttle, and that thing starts working its way down there. And as long as that thing's fixed, I think he has a good shot at getting around Matt Gadera. But boy, this is crunch time right now. Oh, and Gadera breaks.
Hi. It's amazing. You know, twice yesterday, Smith had electrical problems.
Look at that.
Look at the number. New track record, 697 with a 9 at 189 miles an hour as Matt Gadara breaks coming off the line.
Problem solved. I guarantee you there. Wow. Take a look at this. Matt Gadara, I mean, that bike didn't even hardly move. And look at Matt Smith in the left-hand lane just charging down that racetrack.
And here is Eddie Krawiec, our Geico one to watch. Shot at the championship. Take a look at some of these numbers.
Boy, he has been great since going into the countdown. He's got 8-3 round record, no round one losses, 2 runner-up finishes. Still hasn't got that first win and moved from 7th to 2nd in the points. He's 2 rounds out of first. Been doing a tremendous job on that Harley.
Can he win the championship without winning an event? He faces Sean Gann, making his debut on his Buell.
I'll tell you what, Eddie Krawiec's been very, very steady on that motorcycle. He's a lot of confidence. He's very focused, which I talk about all the time. We know you have to be as a driver, or in this case, a rider on a pro stock motorcycle. Key here is, get a good light, but boy, you don't want to be too quick because it's very easy to red light.
Well, Sean Gann comes off the line with a 008, but Krawiec takes the win with a 704, 189 miles an hour. Eddie Krawiec doing everything he needs to do.
Boy, that was a close race. Over 500ths of a second advantage for Sean Gann off the start line. Eddie wanted to make sure he didn't red light. He knew he had the better bike, but probably wasn't planning on spotting Sean that much. Boy, and as a result, it was pretty close at the finish line, but Eddie Krawiec gets the nod.
And that sets us up for the Lucas Oil photo finish as Krawiec takes down Gann. And here's how that sets us in the Lucas Oil Pro Stock Motorcycle Ladder. Angel Sampey will face Andrew Hines. Chip Ellis will face Chris Rivas.
And on the other side of the ladder, Eddie Krawiec's going to go up against Mike Barry, and Matt Smith is going to race up against Steve Johnson, with Matt having the lane choice.
And if both Eddie Krawiec and Matt Smith wins, then of course that puts them head-to-head in the semifinal, 1-2 in the championship points. Well, what about Tim Wilkerson? Mike Neff, Wilkerson, they went side by side. Wilkerson went up in smoke. Neff won. I can't tell you how that tightened the championship. It's made for one great afternoon. Ready to go, the second round, Top Fuel at the ACDelco Las Vegas Nationals. Just 2 races to go in this season. And we're going to start right out with a huge matchup. Coming up, be Tony Schumacher and Clay Millican, but right away it's going to be Larry Dixon and Corey McClenathan. That fight for second.
On the other side of the ladder, got some good matchups, including that battle for second. Hillary Will and Hot Rod Fuller. Hot Rod has the lane choice.
So on the line, Larry Dixon and Corey McClenathan. Dixon won here in 2002. He beat Tony Schumacher to do that and clinched his first ever championship here in 02. But since he lost the final round at Maple Grove to Schumacher, he has not been out of the second round. That's the last 5 races. And there goes Larry Dixon. Corey McClenathan, who was the spring race winner, he drops out. And Dixon moves forward now with a win here in the second round.
Now let's take another look at Larry Dixon. Always textbook launch here. Always carries that front end nicely off of the start and made a very good run. Key here, Larry Dixon kept that thing stuck right in the middle of the groove. We saw Corey Mack kind of drive over towards the wall a little bit, cost him a little bit of elapsed time. Ran a 384, but was no match for Larry Dixon's 382 elapsed time.
Well, and so now as we start the second round, and Nitro, of course, is up first. Tim Wilkerson joins us in the booth. Something I don't think anybody wanted to see, especially you.
Oh, especially you guys. What the heck? I'm not John Force, so I'm not going to kiss you. Believe me.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You can come back anytime now.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you. What a deal. But I'm happy for my teammate Dixon there. Boy, what a nice run in 82. That's pretty stout.
Yeah, very nice run.
Yes.
Well, stay with us as we watch first Top Fuel, and then we'll watch Funny Car.
Great.
So it's Antron Brown and Dave Grubnick. Let's go to the top end and Gary Gerald.
Thing for this weekend in qualifying was that Eddie Krawiec was able to make up one of those precious rounds with qualifying points. But then you watch your rival here, Mr. Smith, blast down the track, a track record. That unsettle your hopes at all?
Not at all. You know, I told Matt last night he's going to get that thing fixed. You know, we have, you know, no doubt that that's a good team over there. There's no question in that. We're just out here running our own race. You know, Matt and I both have to watch out also for Rivas and Angeli. You know, things can happen. So we're just going out there. I'm sure he's treating it the same. We're going to make each round, and whatever happens, happens.
And, of course, it was a very long night, has been chronicled here for Matt Smith. But that team stripped the bike down to a bare frame. They replaced the wiring harness, all the electronics. How apprehensive were you when you went to the line?
You know, I just had to go run my own race. You know, I knew if the bike went from A to B, we'd be okay. But, you know, it's tough to fight these little electrical gremlins. You can't find them, and we still haven't found anything. So I can promise you one thing. All the wire and all the components on the bike are going in the trash can, so people can come by and get them souvenirs they want them.
Bargain time in Vegas.
Excuse me, Mike, I got to go get a souvenir. You go with it. Antron Brown and Dave Grubnick. Brown in that points battle for second, runs a 3:83 at 317 miles an hour, and he'll move forward.
Hey, this was a nice pass by Antron Brown. Let's take another look at this. What do you see here, Tim?
Well, first off, Antron did a terrific job on the starting line, right? He's out of the gate first, and Beard's got the thing tuned up. He's got it stuck in the center. Right down the road they go. Take Grubnick out.
Say to stuck in the center. I noticed in Funny Car yesterday in qualifying that right-hand lane, a lot of cars were wanting to drive towards the center. Do you notice any characteristics of that?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's tracks that do that kind of thing, and there's some bumps out there that kind of get you loose and get you out of the, out of the center of the groove. So it's really important. The long cars, of course, are a little easier to keep in the middle, but well, those Funny Cars, you see them out there, they're drifting around. They got a little handful going on.
I think you were 61.
Well, and back at the line, here comes Rod Fuller and Hillary Will. We want to take a look at Funny Car points, though, with Tim Wilkerson here in the booth. Of course, Tim is #1, but that going out early, that's really a problem.
Well, and you look at our do or die line there. It was 3 rounds coming into this, and there was only Tim Wilkerson and Jack Beckman. Cruz has now moved up there, and I think Robert Height, Tony Petrichon definitely have a chance to possibly move up based on Tim going out early.
And we're not moving the do or die line, though. And Tim, that did really hurt you. But now, with that done, what are you thinking?
Well, I don't know. We just have to hope for the best that, Densham can take Cruz down. I hate to wish anybody to get beat because, you know what? Everybody deserves to win races out here. But, we're trying to keep our championship hopes alive. And, that's the way it works. So hopefully, we're rooting for other people, right?
Well, we'll keep an eye now on Hillary Will and Rod Fuller. We'll see what comes up in Funny Car in just a few minutes. And that's going to be Rod Fuller. Hometown crowd going to cheer that one on as Hillary Will finds herself in trouble. Hot Rod quickest run of the round, 381 at 318 miles an hour. And that 318 is enormous. We're seeing some speed here.
Boy, that was big time. Let's take a look at Hillary Will right now. That see, she lifts the front end up here and see if we can tell what happens. It looks like she probably goes up into a little bit of tire shake, probably just similar to what you might have done in that first round, Tim, just overpowered the racetrack at that point.
Yeah, it looks like they're just running the lead and the clutch at it a little bit too fast there, and that's what happens. That's the same exact thing that happened to mine. I was back there kicking myself in the butt a while ago just for that same kind of thing. So, hey, you know what? What a nice run. The cloud cover obviously is doing a lot for the speeds there.
Well, Tony Schumacher and Clay Millican. Tony Schumacher won here at the fall race in Vegas in 05 and 06. Let's send you to John Kernan. He's back in Tony Pedregon's pit.
Tony Pedregon's crew is getting ready for their big second-round matchup against Ashley Force. And with Tim Wilkerson, the points leader, going out, Tony, right back in the thick of the championship countdown. But you have a tough competitor coming up here in the second round. You know, what are your thoughts heading into that matchup with Ashley?
Well, we know how valuable every round is and how tough every competitor is. So it was good to see Tim go out. You know, nothing personal, but we wanted to get closer to him. But we've got Cruz in front of us. We got to race Ashley. We got Robert that's right there neck and neck. So the focus for me is going to be the same as it was last year. One round at a time. The car's performing. I'm confident. And, you know, hey, every time I get in that car, I take my best shot. And that's what I plan on doing that next round.
You heard him. The car is performing, and he's confident. And he could be the champion for the second year in a row.
Yeah, not the greatest idea for Tim Wilkerson, who's watching with us. Schumacher and Millican. Well, Schumacher trailing smoke at the end, runs a 385. Now fire with 295 mile-an-hour pass, takes down Clay Millican.
Don't see that very often from that Army car. We have seen a little bit of smoke after a few runs here recently, but boy, that was a big time. That thing was laying down bad on the other end, and obviously burst that thing into fire. Take another look at it. You know, Clay Millican gave him a decent race, and Clay did this back in Reading. One of the few guys that come close to him since going to 1,000 foot. Wasn't able to get him, but it was close back then. And then you see just before the finish line, that thing started eating itself up. It went 295 miles per hour at the finish line. Remember, we talk about when we used to race a quarter mile, Tim, about the wick being too short. Now we're at 1,000 foot. Are they making that wick just a little bit shorter by hopping it up a little more?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what's going on there. It's got head gaskets falling out of it. It's going down through there. So I think maybe just a little tire spin, but you never know about that. Them guys do such a terrific job with that Army car.
And so let's take a look now at the final matchups going into the semifinals with Tony Schumacher and Larry Dixon. Both Schumacher, of course, a champion, but Dixon, he's in contention for that second. And then Antron Brown also in contention. And Hot Rod Fuller not really in the fight. He could really mess up everybody's day. Funny car will be coming up. And I'll tell you what, the heat's beginning to get hotter and hotter. Cruz Pedregon, he's looking good so far. And can he move forward? Robert Height, #1 qualifier here. Can he move up as well? Tim Wilkerson standing over my shoulder and wondering about how come we're promoting all these guys, including Tony Pedregon, when he's here in the booth. Well, back at the Strip in Las Vegas, where the fans of all sizes are having a great time. A lot of them here on this Halloween weekend in costume, and others just taking the ride. Tim Wilkerson is in the booth with us, the points leader. Let's go back and look at first round and funny cars.
The big matchup, the marquee matchup. Jack Beckman, Cruz Pedregon, #2 and 3 in the points, and Fast Jack throws away with the red light. Cruz Pedregon gets the win. And I want to know, Tim, what were you thinking right there?
I was thinking both of them were going to drive through the top bulb, to tell you the truth, watching them staged, and then the red light comes on. So Caps and I, we were having a hard time with that.
And that brought up Bob Tasca and contender Tony Pedregon. And while Tasca did all he could, it wasn't good enough to take down a 413 at 295 miles an hour. Tim's still happy.
Then the other points contender, Robert Height, your #1 qualifier, and Tony Bartone. Bartone smokes the tires, and Height streaks to a 4:080 laps time to get the win.
Now with the other contenders watching on, here comes Wilkerson as he faces Mike Neff. Oh, not as pretty for Tim as he would have hoped. He lights the tires. Mike Neff goes on to take the win. Jack Beckman with a little sigh of relief there. So at the Strip, this is the Lucas Oil Funny Car Ladder. And we'll see Robert Height and Mike Neff, and the teammates face one another. And Ashley Force, Tony Pedregon. Can Ashley hurt Pedregon's chances?
On the other side of the ladder, the one matchup that you're going to be interested in, Tim, is obviously Cruz Pedregon and Gary Densham. I bet I know who you're going to be rooting for.
Yeah, you betcha. My buddy Gary, no doubt about that.
Well, crunching numbers once again is our man, the stat guy.
Here is my points program. What I did is I gave wins to Cruz Pedregon for the race, Tony Pedregon and Robert Hight. So this is the worst case scenario for our guest, Tim Wilkerson. Cruz would lead by 12 points if he won the race. Robert Hight and Tony Pedregon would be behind him, Robert by 7 points and Tony Pedregon by 10 points. But the one thing that is key, those racers will meet in the semifinals if they can get that far. So one of them will be knocked out for a chance to go to that number 2 spot in the points. We'll see how it plays out here today.
I didn't know he had a computer. I thought he did all that with paper. All right, here comes Cruz Pedregon and Gary Densham. This is huge for Cruz and big for Tim Wilkerson.
Well, they're all big, no doubt about that. Like I said, I don't wish anybody any bad luck. We need to have safe runs, every run. We need all the competitors back in one piece. But you know what? I'm of course, rooting for Gary for my points championship.
How do you think his chances are?
Gary's? I'll give him a 50-50 chance. You've seen Cruz's light the last time there. Telling you what, that's pushing it. You can see why that happened. And he gets a little bit off cue here. He could be red himself. Cruz is a professional. He's pretty darn good. But you know what? You never know what's going to happen in these deals. That's why we race them, right? Like you guys always say. If it was easy on paper, I think Cruz would have it, but that don't mean anything.
You got to remember, Cruz was first off the line in all 4 rounds on his way to his win at Richmond.
Yeah, boy, he's a good leader. No doubt about that. He's a focused racer.
Gary Densham, 2 final rounds this year. Oh, and the red light comes on. Oh, man. Cruz is moving ahead. First red light of the season for Gary Densham. Could have gone the other way, Tim.
2 gimmies. How about that?
I'll tell you what. Hello. Somebody calling you?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
I'll tell you what, and the bad part about this, look at Gary Densham's number. I want to take a look at the replay here of Gary Densham because he was hauling the mail to the 330, 233. He was 500s quicker than Cruz Pedregon. Let's see if it goes into problems, or maybe he just shut off because he knew he had the red light. No. I didn't see any problems there, so it off. I think Cruz was actually toast if Gary would have just not red lighted on that run.
Well, he said they had it tuned up.
Hey, that's
a shame.
That was your your reaction there. Oh,
how about that? Yeah.
And then your phone rang. Who was that? Anybody important?
Boy, it was a good Lord. He was saying, "What the heck happened?" Oh no, I don't know. It's part of it, No, good job for Cruz and their team there. 418. I tell you what, when you're running 419 and 418 out there, you're not supposed to be winning rounds. So he's got some of Tim Wilkerson's luck from Memphis going on right now. I can tell you that.
Ashley Forrest and another contender, Tony Pedregon. Let's go to the top end. Gary Gerald has Cruz Pedregon.
Well, Kurzer, you keep winning those rounds, and everybody says the focus is 1 round at a time. How difficult is it to not look at this golden opportunity?
Oh, it's very difficult. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my career, but, that's where experience comes in. We've been doing this a while, and I've made my share of mistakes, so I just want to keep it going. I'm just trying to do my job, and I think that's really the key for us is we have an understanding. We're veterans, Ron and myself and the guys are a couple of 20-year-olds, but we're just trying to do our job. And I don't try to drive different because if you say you're going to drive different now, that means you weren't driving your best previous. But there is a lot of pressure, believe me. I'm just trying to act like it's a qualifying run. Had to pedal it there against Densham. I saw that he red lit, and man, I felt it rattling, so I gave it a little courtesy slap there. But we're moving on. Advance Auto Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, when we think about Ashley and Tony Pedregon, Tony won last year over Ashley Force, and that win sent him on to his 2nd Powerade championship. We've got that matchup again. That's going to be Tony Pedregon. Maybe you heard the gas from Tim Wilkerson. Neither one of these have helped all that much. Tony Pedregon, a 4:13 at 300 miles an hour.
And they're killing you, Tim.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, we're going to make it interesting in Pomona for all you fans out there. No doubt about that. Hey, Ashley's doing a good job. There's no doubt about that. She had a good run, and that was just a terrific race, and she was just on the wrong end of a good race.
Yeah, Tony Pedregon is just amazing on the lights when the pressure's on. You look how close this was on a hole shot win. Tony Pedregon gets the nod by about a wheel.
6th hole shot loss of the season for Ashley Force. Well, here comes Robert Hight and Mike Neff. Hight, the #1 qualifier. Another John Force Racing Team member at the top end. Let's go to Gary.
Ashley Force, disappointment, obviously. Hole shots are tough to absorb, and he had 3 400s on the tree. You had a chance, still alive for the championship. How do you now assess it?
Well, we just go on to the next race, and I don't know what happened. I never saw him. I thought we had a good lap. I didn't think I left late, but obviously I did, so I'm frustrated. But for Castro and Ford and AAA, what else can you do? We'll go on to our home track in Pomona and do better there.
Thanks.
Robert Height, #1 qualifier. What happens here, Mike? We got teammates on the line, championship in the balance.
Well, we've talked about in the past, and Tim, I want to ask you, what do you, I mean, if you were in this situation, what would happen on this run?
Well, there's no, the team deal should work out here, right? I mean, obviously there's nothing wrong with the right lane. Ashley just won 409 down it. But, this is why you have 4 cars. If you're in their position, you should be having some team meetings. There's no doubt about that. But tell you what, these Mustangs, these guys are racing each other on a normal basis, and I don't foresee them doing anything like that. But you know what? Just see what happens here, and may the best Mustang win.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there was the best one, 407. How about that for a nice lap?
Robert Height, 407, as Tim said.
407, 301. Good job. Mike Neff probably didn't even have smoked tires, did he?
No, I'm telling you what, that's a heck of a run by them guys. There's no doubt about that. So tell you what, we got John Force on our side, though. He's coming up next, and maybe he can help us out.
I'll tell you, Jimmy Prock's been doing a fantastic job. Robert Height been doing his job, keeping that thing. Look at that thing stuck right in the groove, and that's why they've been running them numbers.
Boy, that was a nice run. Back in Cruz Pedregon's pit. They're already hard at work on that car. And who will he face? Will it be John Force or will it be Melanie Troxel? Our last pair, second round in funny car, about to come up on the line right now. Here are the funny car points for you. As we see Troxel and Force getting ready. Tim Wilkerson still #1. But that's going to get affected maybe by the end of the day. Or maybe not, though.
Boy, we can hope for that, right? It's looking kind of dismal, isn't it? I think.
Well, is that the way you really see the chances? I mean, I see it pretty good for you. Really.
I do too. The math is going to work out however it works out. There's no doubt about that. Now, we got John in the right lane here. I didn't know that he lost lane choice, but maybe they think that lane's okay.
Melanie actually does have the lane choice. She's been making some good runs. John won that first round on a hole shot over Jeff Wren. Didn't make a very good run. As a result, that is why he is in that right-hand lane.
Okay.
Melanie Troxel, who had a win at Bristol over Mike Neff. Crack temperature, there it is, 94 degrees. A little reminder for you on election eve, 2 of the NFL's elite battle in the nation's capital. The Steelers take on the Redskins. Plus, at halftime, Chris Berman will speak with both John McCain and Barack Obama, and that will be their last national interviews. Monday night, football on ESPN at 8:30. And, hey, there's John Force's other daughters. They got the football spirit. Their Halloween thing, cheerleaders for the Broncos.
Whose cheerleader outfit did you have on for Halloween?
Boy.
Yeah. Well, okay. Who's your favorite football team? Let me rephrase that.
The Chicago Bears.
Okay, there we go.
And I'm with you. And Mike Dunn stumps me like that all the time.
Yeah. When you're in Vegas, sometimes the ones that wear the cheerleader outfits, are.
You never know, right?
Yeah. Uptown, there was a lot of them going on.
By the way, the Bears did win today, so
good deal.
We're golden, baby. Wow, John Force has got it figured out. A 407, 309 miles an hour. And John Force will go into the semifinals. Look at John Force as he runs 309 miles an hour.
I'll tell you, John is on his game. We saw him get the whole shot win in the first round, but he rolled her in pretty deep and had an 020 light. This time he wasn't in very deep at all and still had an 070 light, which I think you'll agree with me, Tim, is a very good reaction time.
Well, I tell you, John's pumped. You've seen that at Memphis. You've seen it everywhere he's been racing lately. He's ready to go race racing. And, you know, when you're like that, that's what goes on. I mean, he's a competitor. You know that. He wasn't a champion all those years by chance.
In the semifinals, Robert Height will take on Tony Pedregon. And the other matchup will be the man right there, John Force and Cruz Pedregon. So Team Force could help itself considerably. They could also help Tim Wilkerson a little bit as well. And Tim, as you look through the rest of the day and look ahead to our coverage 2 weeks at Pomona, 7 o'clock in the evening, 2 weeks from today, can you do it, babe?
Oh, I think
you can.
So. Yeah, no, I think we can. You know,
come on, give me that strength thing.
Yeah, you know, that's it. You know, I went over to Neff before first round. I said, hey, we're Mustang teammates. Come on, what's going on with that?
That's right, whole new alliance next year, too.
He'd give me a funny look. I don't know what was up with that, but he didn't go for it.
All right, thanks, Tim Wilkerson, for spending the time with us. And John Force, well, he's already thinking about moving ahead and moving to another win. Remember, he will take on Cruz Pedregon when they come back. And back in Tony Pedregon's pit, they're going to have to take on Robert Height, the other John Force car in the semifinal. All in all, it sets up for some pretty good moments. And, you know, Tim's going to be on the line watching as Cruz could take the lead. But since Tim's standing next to me and he's got really big arms, I'm not going to suggest that. And Robert Height, of course, is right behind it there. It's going to make for a super semifinal in Funny Car. Well, we welcome you back to the ACDelco Las Vegas Nationals as Robert Height's car comes rolling back into his pit, and he looks ahead to his next confrontation. And that, of course, will be with Tony Pedregon, with all kinds of championship implications with that matchup. And look ahead to the Auto Club of Southern California Finals 2 weeks from today. Coverage at 7 o'clock in the evening, and it's pro stock, and this one has a lot of implications as well. Contender Kurt Johnson, 3 wins this season, St. Louis, Chicago, and Brainerd. And he goes up against Greg Stanfield, who has 1 win this year. That was at Dallas, and that's when he beat Jake Coughlin.
Yeah, right off the bat, another great matchup here. Greg Stanfield obviously has a good car, is a good driver. So Kurt Johnson knows you can never take Greg Stanfield lightly. The key for Kurt is getting the setup. We know he has the horsepower. We know he has a race car. He's going to have to get off the line on time and hit that setup. He's going to want to get around Greg Stanfield.
Oh, look at that red light. Unbelievable. Look at the pressure. Everybody's feeling the pressure. Kurt Johnson is 2nd red light of the season, and that'll probably hurt worst of all.
Yeah, they're loving it. They should be. That was a good job by the team. Greg Stanfield made a very good run. Not only did Kurt red light by quite a bit, he knew he had to get the advantage off of Greg Stanfield, or at least be next to him. And then Kurt, he spun the tires big time. Greg Stanfield did not, makes a very nice run to get him into the semifinals.
And well, Greg Stanfield, the runner-up here at the spring race to Jason Line. He's going forward. Here is the Lucas Oil Pro Stock ladder. Jake coming up will face Dave Conley, Alan Johnson, and Ron Krischer.
Other side of the ladder, you can see Stanfield already advanced. The other matchup will be Greg Anderson and Mike Edwards, with Greg having the lane choice.
And so as Pro Stock moves ahead, Alan Johnson and Ron Krischer. Alan Johnson, the only driver in Pro Stock Car Countdown without a race win this season. He's never been to a final round at any Las Vegas race. Ron Krischer hasn't won a round of racing since Denver until today. Krischer with the advantage off the line. But boy, being able to run down Alan Johnson's just not in the cards. 671 is the win for Alan Johnson to a losing 674.
6/10,000ths of a second, folks. That's the difference. Talk about a close race.
That was breathtaking. Just stopped you cold. And talk about a huge matchup. Mike Edwards is coming up to face Greg Anderson. And for Greg, this one is critical. Back with Pro Stock at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in Las Vegas, Nevada for the ACDelco Las Vegas Nationals. And on the right side of your screen, Ken Black, the owner of the car, Greg Anderson. Ken's a resident here in Las Vegas. There he is. Always note him by the big white cowboy hat. And Greg Anderson, he won here last year over Jeg Coughlin. And this particular run is going to be enormous for Greg. He goes up against Mike Edwards. Both his race wins in 2008 have come over Greg's teammate, Jason Line. Oh. And the red light again. What is going on here?
Pressure. That's what's going on.
There's the answer. Fourth red light of the season for Mike Edwards, and it makes it easy for Greg Anderson. And he got a pretty good light himself, the 004. So he was on his game, runs a 672 at 205 miles an hour.
Well, let's go on board. Greg knew he had to cut a light because Mike Edwards is normally deadly on the tree. Mike only missed it by 0.06 of a second. Greg will probably go back and look at it and say, oh, 004 might have been a little bit too close, but he doesn't want to slow down too much more in the next round.
And let's go to the top end with Gary Gerald, and he has John Force.
With John Force now, and you've got a golden opportunity here as you go against Cruz Pedregon to help your teammate Robert Hight. How do you assess this one?
I'm still trying to help myself. I'm waiting for that Hail Mary, and it's coming. Pedregon's are good, but so is the Forces and the Heights. And we got a rounder teamer with these Ford Mustangs. And Castrol, Auto Club, these guys pay the big money. Brand Source Sanyo. At the end of the day, the guys like Nordic Bowden and you know, the little guy, DePinto Brothers, that really come in here to help us. We want to show them that they're part of this family that makes this thing click. But right now, I get a chance here. Robert a chance to make history. I got a long ways to come from behind, but we're going to do some fighting with them Pedregon boys, and they love to dance, so let's see who can outdance each other.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Well, this matchup is huge. Jeg Coughlin and his teammate Dave Conley both are contenders in the championship fight.
Dave Conley with the lane choice, taking that right-hand lane. It doesn't seem to be a big difference as Jeg's father looks on. Jeg Sr. very helpful in getting the setups, and right now you need a good setup. Jeg got 100th off the starting line.
That looks like he needed it.
204.70. Excellent job. There we go.
Well, they cheer him on for the line. You heard the numbers, 671 at 204 miles an hour for Jeg. So let's update the points for you. And with the update, Jeg now has a lead of 83 points over Greg Anderson, who with his win did move forward 2 positions.
Well, mathematically isn't over, but boy, it's pretty much turn out the lights. I think Danny Don would be singing.
So we now have Pro Stock, the semifinals set for us now, and Jeg Coughlin takes his win. And we look back in Robert Hight's pit because already they are back working on the car. He's back in this game as he'll face Tony Pedregon when they come to the funny car semifinals. Back in Las Vegas, it's time for Pro Stock Motorcycle at the ACDelco Las Vegas Nationals. And as we look at the line, there is Eddie Krawick. He does have a shot to take this championship, looking for his first ever Pro Stock motorcycle race win.
Well, he has a good shot at getting in. Like I said, he's just been very confident on this motorcycle. I'll tell you, though, that 697 by Matt Smith the first round was kind of a backbreaker, but I guarantee you the Harley team, they're going to be focused on doing their job, and Eddie's been doing a fantastic job, but he's got to keep that focus.
Goes up against Mike Berry.
Wow. That was a little too close for Eddie. I mean, 003, I mean, that's a very good light, but I don't think you wanted to be that quick against Mike Berry in the second round.
So Eddie Krawick is 707, 187 miles an hour on a 003 light. And he pretty much needed it off the line. Here's our Fram specs.
There happens to be a tiebreaker in the category. The driver with the most round wins won during the regular season would be the first tiebreaker. The driver with the most head-to-head wins is the second tiebreaker. And then the quickest average of 10 best qualifying ET, if it ever gets that far, would be the third one.
And that brings Chip Ellis and Chris Rivas to the line. Rivas, a 7:05, 186, takes down Chip Ellis. He's had a great season, Chris Rivas has. Won his first ever race this season in his career, on his way to maybe another. The next pair, there is Andrew Hines, who won here in 2006 and 7, and Angel Sampey, the #1 qualifier. For the first time this season, has all the bling on, ready to go. She's not won a race this season. Red light there. Angel. Wow. 4th of the season. Easy one for Andrew. So Andrew Hines, 7:08, 188 miles an hour against the red light, and a big one for Angel Sampey. Let's send you to the top end. Gary Gerald has Kurt Johnson, who's out.
The second time this year that you've experienced a red light that couldn't have come at a worse time, obviously. Did you have any hint, any clue that you might be red?
You know, you cut it so close up there. I was 0-21 on the tree the first round, and, you know, you can't back off in a situation like this. You know, we've been 003, 008, other races, come back and go 40s and 50s, and today was not the day to back off. And, you know, where the 26 red came from, I don't know. It just, it may have crept, it may have did something stupid, but, you know, I seen plenty of yellow. I let it out just the same way I did the run before. And, you know, unfortunately for ACDelco and Chevrolet, this being an ACDelco race here in Las Vegas, not a better place to race but Las Vegas. It just didn't happen today. And, you know, we've just been off a little bit these last 6 races. Freak stuff, starter braking, and you know, I got a great crew, great support behind me, everybody involved on this race car. It just didn't happen today.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks.
Matt Smith and Steve Johnson. Matt just a little bit late on the start, but still he carries it on to a win. 7:06, 186 miles an hour. Matt Smith came here leading Eddie Krawiec by 39 points. But we'll give you the semifinal matchups now in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Looks this way. Andrew Hines will face Chris Rivas. Chris will have the lane choice. And Eddie Krawiec and Matt Smith. Whoa, that one. 1 and 2 in the points. That's enormous. And then let's think about the semifinals in Funny Car as well. Cruz Pedregon, they're getting that machine all ready to go. He's got a big matchup coming, and of course this one has implications in the Funny Car Championship battle as well, because Robert Height is the guy that they have to face. So that one is going to be huge too. Robert Height, Cruz Pedregon, Funny Car, and all the guys coming up. In Vegas for the Nitro semifinals now, Jack Beckman red-lighted against Cruz Pedregon earlier. That really helped the championship and helped Tim Wilkerson. But then Tim came back, and you know what? He totally failed. And that gave Jack Beckman and everybody else a chance, including Robert Height, who is in the semifinals, along with Cruz and Tony Pedregon. It's going to be a big change. A very spooky time in Funny Car. Time for Top Fuel at the ACDelco Las Vegas Nationals. And our first matchup is our new champion, Tony Schumacher. He wrapped that all up yesterday in qualifying. He faces Larry Dixon, and we'll show you the ladder now for Top Fuel as we come to this semifinal, the pair we're about to see. And then coming up will be the David Power Motorsports cars, Antron Brown and Hot Rod Fuller. Well, Tony Schumacher, of course, he's just chasing the numbers, trying to roll up everything he can and move those numbers higher and higher and higher, Mike.
Well, I'll tell you, take a look at those records. Now, you know, that's the key. We've been talking about everybody racing for a second, but I think the other thing is, can anybody stop the U.S. Army car? Larry Dixon has lane choice because Tony Schumacher burned up at the other end of the run in the previous round, slowed him down, lost the lane choice by 100.
That guy?
Well, I consider some of the numbers. I've been looking back at the era of 1,000 foot. His round record, 41-1. In 42 rounds of racing, he's had low ET at the round 62% of the time. And this is a great one. In 38 rounds of green light competition, he has left first 63% of the time. He has done his job driving all season, Mike Dunn and Paul Page. He has been amazing.
continues to be as Schumacher goes to his 88th career final round. And we say it again. Who's going to stop him? When are they going to stop him?
Oh, boy, I tell you, even Larry Dixon had the advantage off of the starting line and still couldn't seal the deal. Lane choice, advantage off the starting line by almost 300ths of a second. But Tony Schumacher, Alan Johnson just drives around, did some more engine damage on that run. But, hey, they're in the final round.
So Tony Schumacher goes to his 18th final round of the season. Record in a single season is held by Greg Anderson, 19 races. Well, it's been a record-setting, dominant year for that man, Tony Schumacher. In this week's Powerade Power Time, a look at the crew behind the champion.
I'm Tony Schumacher, driver of the U.S. Army Top Fuel Dragster, and these are my guys. Dane Boynton, Clarion, Iowa, the tires.
Nick Peters, Independence, Ohio, Superchargers.
Jim Marcellus, Redding, California, I do cylinder heads.
Robert Proctor, Palm Beach, Florida, short blocks and bottom end.
Adam Baranski, Chicago, Illinois, clutch assistant.
Brian Husen, Grand Rapids, Michigan, piston and rod assemblies.
Roger Whitworth, Wichita Falls, Texas, clutch.
Jason McCulloch, Avon, Indiana, assistant crew chief.
Alan Johnson, Santa Maria, California, crew chief.
So Tony Schumacher, he's on his way to the final. And speaking of the finals, two of the NFL's best, the Steelers and Redskins, will battle on Monday night. They might go to the finals. They might go to the Super Bowl. Plus, at halftime, Chris Berman will talk with both John McCain and Barack Obama, their last national interviews. Monday Night Football. Well, the David Power Motorsports cars. At least one's going to the final. Will it be that man, Hot Rod Fuller, who has not been to a final round in 12 races? Or will it be Antron Brown, who is a contender in that battle for second place in Top Fuel points?
Well, after talking with Rob Flynn, they did have to change the motor. They froze a lifter here and put a fresh blower on it, and that always can be an exciting time for a new tune-up.
Well, here we go. And he smokes him. Antron Brown lights those tires up, and that's going to hurt. But you can see that Rod Fuller's team is more than a little happy, and Hot Rod in front of his Las Vegas. It's his hometown, in front of his crowd.
Wow, we're going to renew the old rivalry in the final round between Schumacher and Fuller. You're going to see Antron smoke the tires a couple hundred feet off of the starting line, but Rob Flynn has really got that cat dragster running well today. Another 382 gets him into the final round.
And now we're all set there in Top Fuel. Let's take you back to Richmond in Funny Car, where Tim Wilkerson faced Cruz Pedregon, and Wilkerson had his problems with his slide valve, and that's the subject of our CSK Tractionary. Here's Mike Dunn.
And what happened there against that runner with Cruz Pedregon, that slide valve malfunction. That's that piece right there. And what is a slide valve? It is a valve that slides over a port or ports to regulate fuel delivery in the engine. What happens is the fuel that doesn't go into the engine gets returned to the fuel tank. As the car goes down the racetrack, it closes off that port and then directs the fuel into the engine. In the case of Tim Wilkerson in that semifinal round, it didn't operate, so it wasn't getting the fuel in the middle of the course. It slowed down and burned up. It cost him the race.
And so it's now time for Funny Car. And we're going to start out with a classic matchup as we look at the Lucas Oil Funny Car ladder. It'll be John Force and Cruz Pedregon. Robert Height will face Cruz's brother, Tony.
Boy, both of those are classic matchups. So right now, John Force has got to be liking his chances. Has a very good race car today. Cruz Pedregon has been struggling, been a little bit lucky up to this point.
And after talking with Bernie Federle, he says this team's key to this is execution on race day. It's something they've struggled at here, but he feels like this team is coming together. They're not making the little mistakes that have plagued this team in their past. And they say, according to Bernie Federle, John Force got a great chance of not only winning this round, but winning this race.
Yeah, and Dave, Ron Tobler told me about Cruz Pedregon that the information from the last run on the computer, the car just looked slow. No problems with it. Not sure. So he says they're just going to have to really step it up right here to beat John Force.
Yeah, but the question here is, does John Force, how does he help Robert? I assume that his game is to go down the track and try to get the finals, then he can help him.
little staging duel here.
This is funny car. Come on, guys.
Yeah, their Cruz goes in. Pretty much dead even. Wow.
And give it to Cruz Pedregon. Look, it came off the line just right even. Cruz runs a 4:09 with a 2 at 305 miles an hour. And Cruz Pedregon goes to the final.
I'll tell you what, Cruz Pedregon, Ron Tobler, they were able to step up at the right time. They needed this run. Like we said, identical reaction times. But by the 330-foot mark, Cruz Pedregon was about 1/100 of a second quicker, and they carried that all the way to the other end. That 3:09 at 305 miles per hour beats John Force's 4:11, and Tim Wilkerson says, oh no, I can't get a break today.
Yeah, that didn't help. Cruz is now 8 points out of first place. And so the next pair will be Robert Hight and Tony Pedregon. And a little bit earlier, Dave Reef caught up with Robert Hight.
How about those Ford Mustangs? John Force 407, Robert Hight 407, perhaps a bit lucky. Take a look at this. That's what's left of the blower belt. The good news is they did get to the finish line. They got there first. And as I start to look at my hard math, you're in third place now. Good grief. How are you feeling about this?
Got a little ways to go yet, and the day isn't over. What would be best is both these Ford Mustangs in the final. I'd love to race John. You know, after him last year hobbling around in pain watching us run, he was excited. It was good for him to get back out here. But tell you what, we have a couple tough guys. Those Pedregons are tough, but I think these Ford Mustangs are up for the task.
To me, Tim Wilkerson's going to be driving a Ford. I wonder who he's cheering for next round.
Well, depending on who wins here, Robert or Cruz can take the win of the event. They'll be within striking distance, absolutely, if not taken over Tim Wilkerson. This race could really be a defining moment, and Robert Hight is having his best ever Fall Vegas race. Can he close the deal?
Look at the track temperature, 93 degrees. That means that track conditions are very good right now to take the horsepower that you can apply to it. Obviously, you can't get very greedy with it, but these are two great race cars on the starting line right now. A great matchup. Tony Pedregon, Robert Hight. This is probably a you pick 'em as far as who's going to get this one.
And take a look at that left rear tire on Tony Pedregon's car, and the tread started coming off of it, and it actually damaged the body enough that they had to pull the body off the backup car, and that's what's on right now. But Dickie Venables told me that there's no difference between this body and the other one they ran the first two passes of the day.
And why did Robert Hight's car shred the blower belt? It dropped the cylinder at 3.7. Jimmy says, I nozzled it to make sure it won't do that again.
Jimmy Brock tells Robert Hight everything's ready. Last final round for Robert on tour was his win at Indy. Tony Pedregon in the right lane. Dead even off the line, identical off the line, but the win goes to Robert Hight. Robert Hight takes that win and goes into the final. Let's go to Gary Gerald. He has Cruz Pedregon.
Well, now you know the table has been set. You're looking for 2 in a row. You're looking to move into the championship points lead.
John, you're amazing, man.
Robert Hight. John Force comes over
you're
to
a bad man, John.
offer congratulations. Your thoughts about this final matchup, Cruiser, and what's on the line here?
Well, I tell you what, racing John Force, man, that guy's this amazing driver still, like Dale Earnhardt. I was telling people, and it's always. Parachute's got caught.
Had a problem with parachute stangle over there as Hight and Tony come off the track.
Yeah, but just a big race, man. I'm just so overwhelmed right now. You know, my guts been. I've been want to puke my guts out here, but I just want to say to the team, you know, I'm doing it in there. They're doing it on the car. We're such a team right now. But hey, whatever happens at this point, it's icing on the cake. It's just Pedregon brothers. No se dejan, los hermanos. Gracias.
And we know that we're going to have high drama at Pomona.
Oh, you bet, Gary Gerald. Matter of fact, as we look at the funny car final with Robert Hight and Cruz, if Cruz can take this win, then he goes to the points lead in funny car. I want to take you back and show you Cruz's run, because that was huge for him as he takes out John Force. And Tim Wilkerson was surely cheering on John Force's Ford. And Cruz, oh yeah, he has every reason to be happy. Cruz and Hight in the final. This telecast is also available on ESPN2 HD. Well, we're getting ready for Pro Stock to come to the line. Already they're beginning to work in Cruz's pit for the funny car final, and Gary Gerald has Robert Height.
Robert, when this day started, you're kind of on that fringe trying to sneak forward. Everything changed when Tim Wilkerson went out of that first round. How can you best capitalize now?
Well, we've done so far so good. You know, Mike Neff helping me out first round, that was huge, taking out Wilkerson. That guy's been tough all year, you know, leading the points. But that's the way this new system works, and we're going to take the most advantage of this as we can. But I'll not only have this Auto Club team here, we have a bunch of guys back at our machine shop that work on our Fadals and our Giddings and Lewis, and they build all these parts that are on these race cars to make them go fast. And I want to say good job to those guys, and we're going to, as a team, we're going to try to win this championship.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
There's Greg Anderson, 4 rounds in the points behind Jegs, and he needs to win this race, and he needs to have Jeg Coughlin lose right now. He goes up against Greg Stanfield, who was the runner-up here at the spring race to Jason Line.
Yeah, Greg Stanfield, what a job he has been doing to get to the semifinals. I'll tell you, Greg Anderson, he knows he's got his work cut out for him. 2 very good cars, 2 very good drivers on the starting line right now. Oh, something happened to Greg Anderson.
And Greg Stanfield wins it. What happened there? Boy, you talk about the exact wrong time to have something go wrong. And he's had gremlins all year, but Greg told me on Friday, he says, we're past all that. We're taking it easy.
Wow. Sort of that engine rev up there. I don't know if it just blew the tires off it or something broke in the driveline.
So Greg Anderson has himself a problem. It gives Greg Stanfield the advantage and the win. Dave Reef.
A lot of frustrated folks wearing Summit walking off the starting line, including the crew chief, Rob Downing, who just looked at me and said, just spun the tires. Nothing broke. Just spun them.
Wow. It spun him hard because that thing revved up pretty high and pretty quick.
So here is Jeg. He continues his march toward his 4th career championship.
No more. Good. Straight on up. Straight on up. Touch left. Good. Straight on up. Straight on up. And stop. Pull you back.
He's going to go against Alan Johnson, who has beat Jeg the 2 times he's raced him this season, including most recently at Memphis in the 2nd round.
Well, Alan Johnson has a very good race car. He's had it all year long. Sometimes he's been a little bit off on the reaction times. He kind of beats himself up a little bit too much, I think, sometimes on it. But if he can just go out there and just leave with Jeggy, I mean, this will be a good race. 2 very good cars.
They came here hoping they could wrap up the championship here. Be close, but it won't officially happen here.
Dead even.
'71 with a 9, 204.51. Great job. Scotty's there for the boys. Good job. Good job.
Yeah, they did do a good job there. Jeg Coughlin, I mean, identical reaction times. Both had very good 60-foot times, but then Jeg started pulling away when he made that 2-3 shift, and probably 3-4 just pulled away a little bit more and got the win.
Well, so now we're set in Pro Stock back in the funny car pits. They're working away. Look at the heat just come off of those parts, and they continue working on them in Cruz's pit. Same kind of action going on in Robert Height's pit. It's a ballet as these guys take those cars apart and get them ready for the finals. And it's the matchup of the year in Pro Stock motorcycle, as Eddie Krawick will have to face Matt Smith. Number 1 in the points, number 2 in the points, and they go head to head. Well, you can imagine how that feels. Greg Anderson's wife, Kim, comes over to console him. That hurt. That hurt a lot. Well, here comes Pro Stock motorcycle. Matt Smith, Eddie Krawick, semifinals. And 1-2 in the points. It's going to be very, very important. Can Eddie Krawiec do it? Look at that. Second place in the points, 39 points, 2 rounds back.
A lot of pressure right here, and we're going to see how these guys respond to this Pro Stock Motorcycle. A lot of red lights usually, but these two drivers have been pretty steady, especially Matt Smith, all year long.
Well, Vance and Hines is Terry Vance, who pioneered this class. He's a legend and retired 20 years ago this week, and I asked him, what'd you tell Eddie Krawiec? He looked me straight in the eye and said, there's not a darn thing you can tell him now. This is a moment he's been preparing for his whole life. He just needs to man up. We told him nothing, and we'll see how it works out.
I think it's the right strategy. He's been doing well. Why mess with it?
Yeah, don't mess around with that. Well, Krawiec had him off of the line, and that was good enough to take him to the win. Look at that whole shot win. 005, 704, 189 miles an hour, and that's exactly what Eddie Krawiec needed.
Boy, that was a big win right there. I tell you, Eddie was 003 the previous round. I thought that might have been pushing a little bit too close. Now, he knew he couldn't back off against Matt Smith and hit 004, and that was a great job. He definitely needed it, and a great win to get him into the final round.
Yeah, and on his way to a possible first win of the season.
I tell you, Matt Smith did his job. He was 020 reaction time. That's, you know, you want to do that all day long, but he just didn't have quite enough as you look at the margin at the stripe just by a little bit. But boy, how about them guys? They are pumped.
Oh, the Screaming Eagles happy with that. That's a little different if you're watching Matt Smith's run at the same time. And if Eddie Krawiec can win the final, he can take over the points lead. Now, here's his teammate, Andrew Hines, who last went to a final at Indy, where he lost to Steve Johnson.
Right now up against Chris Rivas. Chris has a very good bike. He's been up and down all year long, but when he's on, that bike is tough.
So the red light shines for Andrew Hines, and that means that when you go to the final with Chris Rivas in the final, who is now in his 4th final of the season, Andrew cannot help his teammate. He could have if he could only made it to the final. Wow. But now it's a heads-up race.
And both riders left before the green light came on. But remember, the first one loses. Andrew Hines was 018 before the light. Chris was 015. So because of that, Chris Rivas advances to the final.
Well, and let us not forget, let's take a look at the points. Chris Rivas will face Eddie Krawiec. They are 2nd and 3rd in the points. And Krawiec is within the possibility of passing Matt Smith for number 1. Well, John Force always willing to give a little help to anybody who comes around. Right now, it's to Robert Height. And what he really needs to say is, Robert, you know exactly what to do. Just go do it. And what a final this is going to be. Cruz Pedregon, they work away on his car. Funny car final will be coming up. In Vegas, a fighter turning on final. We're at the ACDelco Las Vegas Nationals, and Hot Rod Fuller is headed to the final.
Well, we're here with Hot Rod Fuller, and he's got a date in the finals in his hometown against that guy Schumacher. The rivalry is rekindled. This is a great opportunity for you. How do you view it?
I got a race car now, this with cat undercarriage on the car, and somebody said today that I got that swagger back, and I'm back home. Swept this race last year, got all that hometown flavor here, and you know what? I want to beat him before Alan goes. I don't want any excuses, and hopefully he don't retire or go to Funny Car next year, because this is sure going to be fun Top Fuel next year.
We're looking forward to it.
It's time for the finals in Las Vegas, and the Halloween weekend has brought out the costumes and a lot of fun. But everyone is frightened of the new 6-time champion Tony Schumacher and his future possibilities as he adds to the record. There are monsters, ghosts, and goblins here haunting the points leader in Funny Car, Tim Wilkerson, who lost in the first round. And that gave Cruz Pedregon, who will now face Robert Height in the final, a better shot at the title. Masks and makeup have been the order of the day, and Eddie Krawiec made up big points by beating Matt Smith, and now can take the championship lead with a win over Chris Rivas, who he faces in the final. So on the strip at Las Vegas, Pro Stock Motorcycle burning out. We're ready to go with the final. Chris Rivas and Eddie Krawiec. There's Chris Rivas. He's looking to win his third career race. He won at Chicago. He won at Dallas this year. And with the win, he could be just 39 points back from Matt Smith. But for Eddie Krawiec, it would be a first-time win. He'd be the 9th different winner this season, and that ties the all-time record. And he will take the points lead.
Much like the perfect storm, this has been a good bike. The rider's been doing a great job, according to Andrew Hines. His brother Matt Hines, a former champion, says now they found the tune-up after the last round, and if they can complete this, they're looking at the new point leader.
Krawiec and Rivas, Pro Stock Motorcycle, the final. Taking their time.
Oh, dead legs.
What's going on with Eddie Krawiec? Wow, he gives that one away to Chris Rivas. Rivas has a good run, a 7:05, 185 miles an hour. But look at the reaction time for Krawiec. Whoa, Andrew Hines, his teammates, wondering as well.
We talk about the pressure, and Eddie just folded on that one. And I got to believe because he was so close to 2 previous rounds, 003, 004, he didn't want to push it because the shadows on the racetrack, a little bit easier to see that amber light. You want to be careful, and I think he just got a little bit distracted, probably thinking about that. And he was dead late. 181. Chris Rivas left way ahead and never looked back.
Third career win for Chris Rivas. He's now 39 points back from Matt Smith. Gary Gerald.
Well, Chris Rivas celebrates, obviously, keeping his championship hopes now more than a little bit alive. When you came into this weekend, did you think you'd have much of a chance to be in just 2 rounds out of it going to the finale in Pomona?
I knew there's always a chance, but I said there was a real slight chance, and it really wasn't up to me. I've been saying it all year. You know, this is the season that I just feel so blessed. You know, this is my season to be blessed, and God's definitely blessed me, and it's just an incredible win. We didn't feel like the bike's performance was ever good enough to win an event, but we just thought if we could keep doing the same thing and not try to do anything different, you know, that we could get the Wally! Yeah! Woo!
Well, we're getting ready for Pro Stock, but we'll take a look at Pro Stock motorcycle points. Matt Smith still out in front. Krawiec 19 back, and as we suggested, Chris Rivas 39 back. Everybody in white mathematically out of it from 5th on up. At least a mathematical chance.
Boy, and that's going to make qualifying in Pro Stock Motorcycle very interesting in the next race.
Well, there's Greg Stanfield, was runner-up here at the spring race. He scored his first career win ever this year over Jeg at Dallas. He outran him. And Jake Coughlin looking to win here for the 2nd time. He won here in 2002. And he won't make the championship here, but it sure makes it a lot easier with a win here to just wrap the whole thing up when they start in 2 weeks at Pomona.
Jed Coughlin, I tell you, just really no pressure for that driver. I mean, he just drives like it's just any other race. And like I said, he makes so many laps down the racetrack, and he always strives to be perfect no matter what he's driving. And I'll tell you what, Greg Stanfield, though, this is a good matchup right here.
Look at the red light, though.
Red by 2,000s.
And that just hands it right over to Jag. First foul of the year for Stanfield, but you can bet that the team is happy with Jag's win. Let's go to Dave Reef. He's got Roy Simmons.
Down in this gaggle of yellow, we find Roy Simmons hugging Jeg Sr. You know, talking about championships, it's all about peaking at the right time, and certainly this team is doing that. What has this team done over the last 4 races to put yourself in this unique position?
Well, we've had some stumbles, as our competitors have, but we just stuck together, and we kept working. Went to Tucson last week. We tested. We found our problems that bit us in Dallas and bit us in Richmond with the clutch, and you can see we can carry it to the finish line now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll look at the points now in Pro Stock cars with Jed Coughlin. He's all but wrapped up this championship. There he is, number 1. Greg Anderson, 123 points back. Kurt Johnson has a mathematical chance as well. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And as Jeg comes crawling out, virtually having locked up this championship. He'll go to the roof. That's become a tradition. It's a signature move for him as he prepares to celebrate a championship. I want to ask you about how critical was the test in Tucson early in the week, the 2 days you spent there and whatever you found to lead to this moment.
Very crucial, Gary, to be honest with you. You know, we were fighting some gremlins this car. First 4 races of the countdown, and not complaining, that's for sure. But we definitely sorted out some issues in the bell housing and also in the engine and a little bit in the suspension. So it was a great test all around and some stuff for the drivers. So I felt like we got out here, ran 4 just awesome runs today. You know, what a way to capture a win here at the ACDelco Nationals in Las Vegas. You know, we're well on our way to a Powerade championship, you know, and that feels very, very exciting. Congratulations to the whole Jegs and Jegs.com crew. Thank you.
Huge moment coming up in the Funny Car. The race for the Funny Car Championship. We will have a first-time Fall Vegas race winner. And big movement as Robert Hight and Cruz Pedregon come to the final in Funny Car. The Funny Car Final. Robert Hight closest to you. This is his 28th start from number 1. He's looking to win from the pole position, though, for only the 4th time in his career. And Cruz Pedregon on the other side, well, he hopes to take over the points lead with just 4 rounds of racing left to go after the day. John Kernan?
And Paul, talking with Ron Tobler, Cruz's crew chief, that last run in the semifinals was the first time they got good data today. He likes what he saw. Remember, they blew out a spark plug in the first round. He had to pedal the car in the second round. And Ron says what he's going to do is go up with basically the same setup as the semifinals. He says he knows the competition's tough with Robert Hight. They're not going to back down. They're going to go for it.
2 consecutive runs. The LA Dodgers Auto Club car has dropped cylinders because of that. Jimmy Brock has changed coils. They've made some fuel system changes, and they've gone back to their #1 qualifying tune-up. He says there's no reason that if the new coils work and this new fuel change works, they can't duplicate that number and go 404 here and take the win.
Tim Wilkerson looking on, watching this. Cruz Pedregon won at Richmond. Last time that he won back-to-back Funny Car races was 1994. Points leader, Cruz Pedregon. He takes the win. Tim Wilkerson gets shoved off the top spot.
Wow. I mean, that's all you can say. Cruz Pedregon, 0-10 reaction time. Probably took a shot at it, but boy, it worked.
Dave Reef has Tim Wilkerson.
Well, Tim, now you know what's going on. You're number 2 heading in to Pomona, but you were in this position one other time. What can you do in Pomona?
Well, I tell you what, they put me in this position in Charlotte, and you've seen what happened. So, tell you what, good job, Cruz Pedregon, Vance Auto Parts. They did a good job. No doubt about that, Ron Tobler. They made it happen. But you know what? Next weekend's all over again. We're going to start with, you know, the fresh start. That's all there is to it. Put our offense back together and try to go after it.
And for Cruz Pedregon, the first time he's gone back-to-back since 1994.
Now let's take a look at the Funny Car points because it's changed once again. Cruz goes up 2 positions around Tim Wilkerson. Robert Hight still sits in 3rd, but he's just 39 points back from Cruz. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And as Cruz Pedregon takes that big sigh and celebrates coming out, we wait for the helmet to pop off. Ron Tobler and this team, what a remarkable turnaround. Cruz, what has this team found to enable you, for the first time in 14 years, to win back-to-back events?
Oh, just veterans. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career, and but I'm not making them anymore. I promised Ron I'd be the driver that I once was a long time ago, but Ron has been through a lot. He's a veteran. I just think so much of his abilities, but I just want to say I thank sponsors. You guys can see the sponsors, but the guy that really gave me my big break is Joe Paisano, Southern California racer. We love him. He was like a father to me after my dad passed away, and I just want to say to all the Joe Paisano fans out there, I'm building a nostalgia funny car in his memory, and he introduced me to Larry Minor. This means so much to me. You guys have no idea. Si se puede. Gracias.
Our congratulations to Cruz. And Paul, we've got another huge matchup coming right now. More records for Tony Schumacher?
Oh, just maybe. He's looking to win his 56th career race in Top Fuel. To do it, he has to get past Hot Rod Fuller. Hot Rod, just one race win this season. It was at St. Louis, and he beat Tony Schumacher.
Well, and I think this is the best car he's had since then, probably since Norwalk. Norwalk had a very good car, and he also was able to beat Tony at that race. Rob Flynn's been doing a fantastic job this weekend, just running very consistent and very strong.
Rob Flynn put the final numbers on the car, and they're ready to go. Top Fuel final. Fuller, Schumacher. And give that one to Tony Schumacher. He continues to extend those records. They came off the line almost even. Schumacher runs a 380 at 314 miles an hour. Fuller was faster at the finish, but the win light goes to Schumacher.
Oh, man, I'll tell you, it was a great old drag race. So what a way to cap off the weekend in Top Fuel. Just a fantastic job by both them teams. If we take another look at slight advantage of Rod Fuller, 0.03 of a second. That's pretty much dead even. The difference was at the 8th mile. Tony Schumacher's run 280 to Hot Rod's 279. That little bit of difference carried to the finish and allowed him to get another win.
The 15th win of the season, and it ties pro stock racer Greg Anderson for the most wins in a single season of racing. Let's go to John Kernan.
And I'm with Robert Heighton. Robert, good news, bad news. Bad news, you lost, but you made up a lot of ground in the championship countdown. Now 2 rounds out, heading to Pomona.
Yeah, Pomona's going to be unbelievable. Honestly, we've had a lot of time to reflect after Richmond, and I never thought I could get this far back in one race. So anything can happen. That's a tough team over there. But this Auto Club Ford's going to show up at Pomona ready to win a championship.
We can't wait for 2 weeks from now. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And it's like a broken record for Tony Schumacher and this team. How do you sum up this weekend?
Well, it's like a broken record. That's your favorite song. It just keeps playing over and over again. I like that. It's unbelievable. You know, you show up for racing, and after you've won 14 races, you just have to qualify. And, you know, that's not what we're about. We're not just about qualifying. That's anticlimactic for a team that's done so much. We came out here qualified #1, which was a great start. But to win for the U.S. Army, we got our hometown hero here from the Army that just got back from Iraq, Afghanistan, and, you know, Gates, Bells, and Hoses, Matco Tools. I don't often have a chance to thank the people that help out with Napa and Trigicon, just all the incredible people. Valvoline. We got the SEMA show this week. It's extremely big for us. It's the automotive supermarket show. So I got to thank all the people that have helped. I got to thank my family for supporting us through all the traveling we do. But the U.S. Army team, man, we want to make sure we leave nothing on the table. That is as Army strong as it has ever gotten. It is an outstanding race team. I'm proud to be part of it. Proud to drive the U.S. Army car.
They've said all along, Paul, that they're going to run the table, and by golly, they're doing it.
Oh, the Army tank is just mashing everybody.
I mean, what can you say about Tony Schumacher and that entire team? The numbers speak for themselves.
John Kernan has Eddie Krawiec.
Down here with the disappointed Eddie Krawiec, and Eddie really late off the tree right there. What happened?
Stupid mistake. You know, I had my finger just caught on the clutch lever. You know, I had my glove balled up on the bottom, and I should have snugged it up a little bit. Just stupid mistake, and you know, unfortunately, something like this can't afford to happen right here. And you know, I just feel really bad for my guys. You know, we had a good bike, and you know, just really stupid mistake.
We'll see you in Pomona.
Thanks.
And for Tony Schumacher, he continues to roll up those records, now tied with Greg Anderson for wins in a season.
Yeah, and the 2 season records he wants to get. Round wins, he has to go to the semifinals in Pomona to get that one. Obviously, race wins. He has to win the race to get that. So if he wins a race, he'll have both of those records.
Well, the season has seen 1 champion crowned, 1 nearly crowned, but really opened up the fight in Funny Car. New points leader, that's the man right there, Cruz Pedregon, and it's tight in Pro Stock Motorcycle.
I can't wait to get to Pomona in 2 weeks between Pro Stock Motorcycle and Funny Car, which is just totally wide open, and it's been that way all week, all year long. It is going to be great to see how that plays out.
How neat it has been at the Strip in Las Vegas. They place their bets, they let them roll, and we've seen the results on this holiday weekend. What a good time, and in 2 weeks, it's in Pomona. It's for the finals, and it's 3 championship rounds that will be added. Our next NHRA qualifying show Saturday, November 15th at 11 o'clock. Up next, NASCAR Now.